Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Teacup for One Movie Club. Technically, we started again last week, except this is the first official show of the new year where we're actually going to be discussing a movie because it is Oscar time. We love Oscar time. So, as we've done for the past 2 years, we're going to be getting together once a week here on the channel on Wednesdays and one Thursday evening to discuss some of the movies that are in the mix for Best Picture. I think everything we have lined up is a Best Picture nominee, minus one film that is a Best Animated Feature nominee, but we'll get there when we get there. Tonight, we are discussing Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. That it's a long movie. It's almost 4 hours. Well, it's 3.5 hours, but math rules you round up. It's a 4-hour long movie. We're going to discuss that movie in under 4 hours tonight, and I'm excited. I'm excited to do that. Let's see who we have here joining us in the audience. We have my mom. Hello, Martha. And we have my cat. Hello, Eliza. Eliza did not care for the movie. It's true. She heard the gunshots and the screaming, and she ran away. It was kind of sad for her, actually. Eliza's my cat, for those who don't know. She's going to play DDC tonight. She will listen, have fun, humans. We will. Only time will... Vince, it's Vince. I thought the movie was good, but not fantastic. Hopefully, you'll be home in time for the game. I hope you're here for the game, too, Vince. I hope you're here for the game, too. But while we're waiting on Vince, we have a lineup of exceptional people here to discuss the movie with us tonight. Who am I going to bring in first? Oh, I know. It's Ben, everybody.
Hello.
Ben, I'm so happy to have you back.
It's such a pleasure to be back, Matt. Thank you so much for having me to discuss Killers of the Flower Moon.
I'm so excited. Happy to have you. Did you say you read the book, or did I imagine that?
I did. You didn't imagine it. I got it right here, actually. Just happened to be next to me.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, the book actually compared to the movie is it's kind of slim. You might.
I was going to say, it looks like you could read that in under 4 hours.
You could read this, and actually a lot of this is like indexes and stuff. You could probably read this in like a day or two. Highly recommend the book, by the way. The book is some excellent nonfiction writing, and yeah, I'm excited to get into it.
Is it actually a nonfiction book? Like, is it not written from a narrative perspective? So it's like, interesting.
It is written as sort of like a true crime book, yeah, and it does some interesting stuff. Yeah, like we'll get into it, but yeah, there's some interesting things about it that I was thinking, like, I don't know how Scorsese's going to adapt some of this stuff, and he finds some interesting ways to do it. So
interesting. Yeah. I want to hear more about the book, because watching it definitely feels like there's a very coherent narrative that feels like it was just lifted from what I assumed was a narrative book based on actual events, as opposed to like, here are facts, pull a story out of it. So interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of ethical kind of weird stuff you can get into when it comes to true stories and true crime stories. And I think that this book is such an exemplary read, because it really kind of in some ways probes that and goes like, what does it mean to really tell these stories? And I think Scorsese does similar things, but yeah, I'll save it for later.
Yeah, I mean, well, with that in mind, we'll get into it later. But like, the question that's pressing on my mind now is, with that in mind, do you think that this has a stronger pull, could you argue, for adapted screenplay goodness versus reading the back of the Barbie box for Barbie as an adapted screenplay?
Well, one of the big shockers, I'm pretty sure, was that this did not get nominated.
Did it not?
Screenplay. No, it was passed over. And part of me wonders if that was just because I don't know how these Academy people vote and what if they're actually
nominations
scripts.
Did this movie get?
It got 10, and screenplay was a big oversight. But yeah, I think that. Yeah, it's kind of shocking, because the thing about its adaptation too, and we will talk about it, is how much it kind of differs in terms of perspective, and who is emphasized and focused on, and whose points of views are focused on in the book are very, very different than what you see in the movie. So it's a really different experience, but telling the same story. Yeah.
I can't wait to hear your insights, Ben. I'm excited. You know who else is excited? It looks like I've been watching Lisa's reactions to all the things she's been saying. And Lisa seems like
very saying, Ben. I've been like shocked. I was like, I had no idea the book was that short. What?
Yeah, it's you could. I swear, I read this on a train to Montreal. I think I got through like 2/3 of it in one train ride. So it is. They got a lot out of this. I mean, it is a pretty, even though it's not long, there's a lot in it, right? But yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. And I didn't even know it was like a nonfiction. Like I knew it was like a historical story, but I didn't know that it was based on a nonfiction book. I actually thought it was a fiction book. So I'm learning a lot tonight. Yeah.
Lisa, by the way, Matt, I
Yeah.
hope it's okay for me to bring this
do
up
it.
right
Do
now.
it. Bring it up. Bring it up.
I was checking my calendar, you know, and I'm not a super busy guy, but I got things I got to do, and I'm looking at my calendar, and I see when I'm looking at my calendar, and tell me if you remember this. A week from tomorrow, it says in my calendar on February 8th that Lisa watches Elvis. So so we must have talked about on the Elvis episode. I bet you and I were like, okay, we'll check in a year, and you'll give it a rewatch.
Probably, yeah.
So,
wow.
You know, February 8th, if you're not doing anything, it would be a great time to check out Elvis again.
You know, I don't have anything on February 8th, so you know what? I might actually.
I was shocked. I forgot about this.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind rewatching that, to be honest. After watching this. So yeah.
Ooh, I'm excited to unpack whatever that means. Fun. Yeah, let's all watch. Anna's here.
Hi, Anna.
Yay, Ben. No, yay, Anna. Go, Anna.
It's nice when your girlfriend checks in and says hi.
Right? We love Anna. I started following Anna on Instagram recently. It's a good time.
Oh man, she posts a lot of. Well, actually, she doesn't post a lot, but she loves watching. If you send her an Instagram story with a Bernese Mountain Dog in it, she will love you forever. She loves looking
very
at
specific.
those. Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
Good to know. Nice. All right. Well, before I bring in the next guest, opening question, Lisa, what is your favorite true crime movie or TV show?
There's so many. Oh my god. True crime. I'm gonna have to go with House of Gucci. The assassination of the Gucci guy.
Is that the movie with Lady Gaga doing a weird accent?
An Italian accent?
Yeah. It's really the movie with Jared Leto doing a weird accent.
That's it, yes.
The fat suit. Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's because of the crime per se, but like obviously Lady Gaga. That was really strong. There's just so many. Oh my god.
I'm realizing now I don't actually have an answer because I don't think it's a genre I've explored as much as I could. So I'm really just looking for recommendations at this point.
Yeah,
so,
House of
Gucci.
If you want to look at it as a true crime kind of thing. But there's so many like documentaries and like there's that Ryan Murphy show about the Versace guy being assassinated, I think. It's like a series. Yeah, he like goes into true crime. There's the OJ trials. Come on. That's fun. I love true crime. I think true crime's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I'll add to my list. Ben, what's your favorite true crime?
Well, Lisa mentioning that OJ stuff, because yeah, there's that Ryan Murphy show, but there was an amazing documentary series. I think it's called Made in America, maybe. Okay. And it was like a 5-part series. And they showed it. Yeah. And they showed it at the Hot Docs Festival here in Toronto. And the programmer was like, "We have a very special guest for you tonight. Very special guest." And we were like, "OJ?" Like, did they get him? Like, they gonna bring him out? But it ended up being someone who like worked one of the cases or something. It wasn't OJ. Ooh. But yeah, there's really, really good true crime stuff around that. And then I just recently watched, I wouldn't say it's my favorite one, but I watched a 3-part, very disturbing HBO documentary called Love Has Won, about a woman who took I think she took ecstasy once or something.
Yes.
You're making Jeanette dance.
Yes.
You're making Jeanette dance.
Right?
Making me get that. So that is the best newest one for sure.
That one's insane.
Like, I followed that story before she died. Like I was following that story while when it was developing, and that thing still taught me things I didn't know. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Those pictures, what? I was like, oh my god.
It's wild. It's wild. I think a lot of people in cults really just want to party. That's what I'm learning. They just want to get together and party. It's very strange and very sad, but it is
a good Lisa was talking about, though. I don't know. So I tried to watch House of Gucci twice. I tried so hard, and I love Lady Gaga and Adam Driver. Like they're both at the top of like every like the acting and music lists for me. Like I wanted to like that movie so bad, but Adam Driver needs to stop trying to do accents.
Yeah,
it's not working out.
Okay, I want to take back my true crime. Okay. I have a better. So screw House of Gucci, screw OJ. It's a Netflix documentary called Our Father, and it's about this gynecologist who like he's helping a lot of like couples and just people wanting to get pregnant but they can't, so they go on to like IVF, and he uses his
I've heard of this guy.
No.
Yes.
Oh no.
And the problem with that is that like all these people
aside from the obvious,
there's like hundreds of kids, right?
in the
don't
same
know.
radius.
Right.
So these people are ending up like dating their brother or dating their
Oh,
not
it
knowing.
gets worse.
Yeah, it gets a bad.
Oh, wait, now you're exciting Alex now in the
half brother, Lisa, right? Half
Hey.
brother. Let's be precise.
Hold on. Look, can I say what my favorite one is though? And look, not to be like a cool kid or anything, but I liked this one. I liked this story before it was cool and hip and relevant. The Act about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, which came out like years ago, but that is a genuinely good like movie regardless, or series. I don't even remember if it was a multi-part series, but like yeah. Oh, you think I don't? I am on that Instagram. I'm on her Instagram like white on rice. I am.
Amazing.
It's bad. Yeah.
We
that
love
would definitely be
Gypsy
my favorite
Rose.
one. Yeah.
We love
I
Gypsy.
can't hear Gypsy Rose Blanchard without thinking of the musical.
That's who she's
That's
named
just
after.
who I am. Is it really good?
Oh,
for
I
her?
was like, did they
Good
make
for
a
her.
musical about her story? That's fantastic.
Can you imagine?
No, it's the musical. I guess her
Okay.
mom really loved the musical and named her kid after that. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And then she got murdered by said kid because she was being abusive to said kid.
Which is actually not too far off from the plot of Gypsy, the musical.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no murder, but like I feel like Louise was one argument away. She was one argument away. Yeah. That's my thought. Anyway, Alex, welcome. What's your favorite true crime thing?
Well, first I want to say Lisa gave me a fantastic idea when she mentioned Gucci and Versace. Wouldn't it be great to have a musical like Assassins, but it's all the like fashion moguls who were assassinated
Oh
instead of
my
the U.S.
God.
presidents?
That would be.
I mean, we got, how many are there? That's the first question.
How many are there that
What's
have been
that?
assassinated?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's at least two, but then there's like other true crime stories too surrounding fashion that are pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. There's something there. There's something there.
Yeah, Father, Son, and House of Gucci. That can be the title.
Yeah, otherwise I'm like you, Matt. I don't I shouldn't say quite like you. I don't know what the true crime genre like encompasses. Like I've heard of true crime in the context of podcasts and stuff like that, but I haven't heard it as a term for like film. So I don't know that. Like, is Killers of the Flower Moon officially a true crime genre film? Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you throw out some examples, I'm sure I've watched similar movies that are like narratives based on true crime, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head anything that I've watched that I know to be true crime. I've watched documentaries and movies based on alleged true stories.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Fargo, but Fargo's like so loose.
Would we call The Conjuring true
My,
crime?
my answer is Goodfellas.
That's true crime.
They're
Is it really?
shysters.
Is The Conjuring
Yeah,
based?
they're shysters.
Well, like all the hauntings, like Exorcist and Amityville Horror, they're all based on like reportedly.
Yeah, the
there you go.
first Conjuring is based on the Amityville Horror. Yeah.
Although, is possession, does that count as a crime? Like,
Well,
It's
no.
a crime against God.
that's
Well,
It
the
also
crime
depends
was
on how
the
shysty
father.
people are being about it.
Yeah, and but also like the Amityville Horror, like yes, he was possessed by.
He also
evil.
murdered his family, right? So.
He murdered his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the mortal world.
real life consequences
Yeah.
to debatable possession.
Oh my God. Anna said in the chat, no one said Goodfellas, and I was literally going to say Scorsese has another true crime movie, even though I think did they change the name? I guess they didn't.
They must
The
have.
main guy's the same name.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, Goodfellas. Hank Hill, Henry Hill, not Hank Hill. That's fucking.
Oh,
Hank Hill and Henry Hill, those are kind of the same name. It never really occurred to me.
Yeah. Hank.
I was like, it's
Huh.
one of those. Oh my
I'm
God.
gonna
I'm
pull
going to
up
get
what
us to
this
watch
was
Goodfellas
nominated
for
for.
1 month. We're going to do a Scorsese month or a Ray Liotta month or a
Whoa.
Robert
This
De
movie
Niro
actually
month,
made
and we
me
gotta do
realize,
it.
like in retrospect, I think I like Martin Scorsese movies more than I acknowledge I do. Because I enjoyed
Mhm.
watching this, which we'll get into, at least more than I thought I would. Reflecting back
Mhm.
on the other movies he's made, like I enjoyed Wolf of Wall Street, I enjoyed Goodfellas. I feel like I just have it in my head that I don't like Scorsese movies, but I think I do.
Why? What movies
I don't
don't you
know.
like?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I like all of
Yeah.
them, evidently. I think I just have
I
this
mean, you've only
preconception.
listed like 3 out of like, I don't
Oh,
know,
it's
20, but sure.
Yes. But so let's talk about this movie. Had anyone seen this movie before it became an assignment for this show? Yeah,
No,
Ben
but I
did.
really wanted to. It was at the top of my list. But
Okay, so it was
And
going to
I
happen.
rewatched it today
inevitably.
because I wanted it fresh in my head.
My gosh, Ben, you've dedicated an entire workday's amount of hours into watching this film.
That's true, and I honestly, I responded pretty deeply to it the first time, but it actually grew a lot for me the second time. It was a very rewarding watch, but the tough thing about it is you have to say, okay, if I'm going to watch Killers of the Flower Moon today, that's like your day, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's going to be, it's because it's long. So
intermission.
yeah, so it's and it is a tough movie in a lot of ways. It's pretty challenging, and yeah, I think that there was a part of me that was a little reticent to go back to it and be like, all right, I'm going to kind of slip into this world again. But I was really absorbed by it on a second watch. So yeah.
I'm excited to hear more. Oh, I was wondering 3.5 hours. Well, I was thinking like if Ben's watched it twice, that's 7 hours. So like
Right.
workday plus 1 hour
Pretty
lunch,
much a day.
Lunch.
He's also going to be like talking about it today. So like that's probably like 2 hours. So like that's
a lot of time dedicated to this movie. But yeah. All right. So let's hear first impressions from those of us who watched it for the first time. I'll kind of go first because I've already sort of made an opening statement that I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I wasn't able to watch it all in one sitting, both logistically in terms of having that much time available all at once. And also when I thought I did, it was like 10 o'clock at night and I fell asleep because I was tired and it got to be midnight. So yeah, if I could sit down and watch it straight through, I probably would be able to, which is not what I was expecting. I was expecting this to be really kind of in the same camp as Power of the Dog, where it's long and boring. And maybe there's an argument for this being, well, long because it is. Maybe there's an argument for it being boring, but I don't think it was. Like I found it more compelling than I thought it would. I found the dialogue was attention worthy. I felt like the narrative moved at a quick enough pace, which I was pleasantly surprised by. Like I didn't expect stuff to unfold as quickly as it did, just knowing how long it was. And I don't think there was any time wasted, which I'm sure it could be edited and they could probably cut an hour easily, but I'm not mad that it's this length. Lisa, what do you think?
I disagree with you. I didn't hate it. My first impression is I don't hate it. When Lily Gladstone won the Golden Globe, I was like, I'm gonna have to watch it, obviously. But I watched one of her other movies called The Unknown Country, which is a really like beautiful film. And I like instantly, I was like, oh my God, she's like an amazing actor. Like whatever is in Killers of the Flower Moon, she's gonna be amazing. So my reason that like I was so inclined to watch it separate from this assignment of ours was because of her. And I think what she has done in the movie is really excellent. And I wish there was more of her. Which leads me to the overall impression of I wish this story was told in a different way. And that goes for like everything. Like that goes for like the narrative, that goes for the medium, like maybe it's interestinger in a book. That goes for like maybe if it is in film, maybe it was a mini series instead of a almost 4-hour length movie. Yeah, I can't get behind a movie that's over 3 hours because that's not my jam. I had to watch it in 2 parts. I don't normally like doing that with movies. But yeah, I didn't hate it. I'm excited to talk about the things I didn't hate about it, but I'm also excited to talk about the things I did hate about it.
And I'm excited to hear it all. All right.
Yeah.
Jeanette, what's your opening statement on this film? Where's my Diet Coke?
So I'm pretty much in your camp. Like I was a little intimidated by the length. Not really. As I've told all of you, I'm just like, I feel like if you like James Cameron films, this is not that hard. Like this is a walk in the park. It was. I felt like it, and I'll get to the specifics of me agreeing with this opinion later on because they tie into a movie that this kept reminding me of, and y'all can call me crazy later, but I didn't think anything needed to be trimmed. I thought everything was doing its part. Scenes of scenery, scenes of people doing things, dialogue, like everything that I was shown led to me understanding this movie better. So I didn't ever feel, and I also there was nothing gratuitous. Like I was a little worried that there was going to be gratuitous violence in this movie, a little bit, like him maybe trying to be a little shocking. I never felt that way. So yeah, I as far as like the Golden Globe nominations, the Oscar nominations, I fully agree. Like just to get to that bubble quick, but I just feel like Leo was just being Southern Leo again. Like, and I've seen a better Southern Leo in other movies.
When has he been better Southern Leo?
Django.
Oh, I had to turn that off because of the violence. When he showed up, weirdly enough,
me,
very different
me
character.
saying I hate gratuitous violence, except in Tarantino movies.
This was this was the first movie where I liked Leo.
Right.
I notoriously don't like Leo in movies. Usually.
Really?
This is the first time I've thoroughly enjoyed watching him in.
Really?
Well, no, okay, maybe not the first time. There are performances of his that I have liked. Like I liked him
Wolf
enough
of
in
Wall
Titanic.
Street?
I liked him in Wolf of Wall Street and Great Gatsby. I think those are my 3.
Usually I find Gatsby him is one you go
obnoxious and insincere. Oh, what? Sorry, you found Great Gatsby? What?
I love that Great Gatsby is one that you go to.
Oh yeah, because I think Great
that
Gatsby
one kind of gets lost in the fray of his career.
I think that's the perfect encapsulation of what he does really well, like that role and that type of character. And he usually annoys me because it just feels he feels very much like I'm Leonardo DiCaprio and I'm acting for you now. And I don't know. I can definitely, maybe there's an argument that that's what this was as well, but there was something about there was like a level of vulnerability to him and normalness.
I think he's letting himself
see.
Like kind of go a little bit at this point.
And I think that's what I like. I like Leo. I like Leo let go. Leo let go is the era of Leo's acting that I'm here for. That I want to see more of him being just like a normal person in weird circumstances where he is inadvertently a murderer. More of that. More Leo. So yeah,
I mean that sounds like more of a role like pickiness rather than an actor pickiness.
Could be. Who knows?
Leo
Who's to
doesn't
say?
Often play those kinds of characters.
It's true. Yeah. You're right.
Like
I'm trying to find the secret sauce as to what made it work for me in this movie, and maybe it's that, maybe it's not. But who's to say? Alex, what are your opening thoughts on this film?
I watched it straight through. I agree with Jeanette that I felt like I was totally engaged. I wasn't bored. I didn't feel like there was any part of the movie that was excessive or unnecessary, superfluous. I thought, and if anything, funnily, maybe Lisa won't like this. If anything, it was too short. No. So I kind of like it wasn't too. So the reason I say that is because the point is I felt like the movie introduced a lot of cool ideas and characters and situations that it didn't actually get to explore as much as I wanted it to.
Okay.
So So like to the point of like miniseries or something, right? Like a medium that would have allowed more time in this world and with these characters, I think I would have liked in theory. So that was the thing. That was like a nitpick I have with the movie, where like I liked it, I watched it through, and I had no problem with the length. But I did at the end, I kind of felt like there were a few things, and throughout the movie, like so for example, we'll get into it, but like, it's a small example, but the family life of Ernest, right? Like, I felt the movie, like, there were things that happened with his family but because I didn't really spend too much time with him and his family, it didn't impact me the way it would have if I would have had more of a context for his children and all that kind of stuff. So elements like that, where there were things that were relevant to the story, but the movie didn't really give us too much time with those elements. And so I was kind of feeling a little bit empty in certain categories. But overall, I had a great time. I thought, I like Martin Scorsese. I'm pretty sure I've liked every single movie of his, and I've watched a lot of his movies. Back when I was younger, I did like marathons of Scorsese. So, good movie.
Yeah.
More thoughts.
Thinking to what you said, I do feel like time moved really quickly in this movie. Like, there was a pregnancy announcement, then there was a kid. Like, So I am questioning now, would I have preferred this as a miniseries, or do I like it as a film as it is? Like, let's go into that. How would we prefer this?
Scorsese did The Irishman, and that was I didn't watch that, but that was 4.5 hours, right? And he did it for Netflix. So
I would have taken a longer movie myself. I would have taken a longer movie. Like, I didn't feel it was too short, but
I wish he would do series, but I don't think he will. Like, I think he's probably had the option to and has not.
I just love a good mini series because, like, you can really get into the characters and like the situations that the characters find themselves in more so than in a movie. Like, the intermission that I took in this movie was, I think, after Molly's mom dies. And after that, there's just so many cuts because so many things are happening over a long period of time that it's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm saying this movie is long and I didn't like the length, but it's not because I was bored or like it was slow. It's very like it tumbles forward and it's like really like you're on for the ride. It's just that I wanted to know more about like their life before these guys came into it. It's like, who were these women? Who were these sisters before? You don't get any of that. You just see them.
I wanted to know more about the other. There's 60 other deaths or hundreds of other deaths. And I'm like, I don't need to know about every single one of them, but maybe some more scenes of like people we haven't met dying. Like, you know.
But like in terms of like miniseries versus movie, I would like eat that up. I would love that. I don't know why he wouldn't do a miniseries for like this or The Irishman. Irishman? Either way, I think that would have been a delicious medium that I would crave.
Yeah, like I think what I'm trying to grapple with for myself is I wanted to know more about a lot of the characters, specifically. Like, I really liked Anna. That was one of the sisters, right? The one who got shot.
Her nomination.
Has the gun in her purse.
Oh yeah,
nomination.
I loved her.
She's great.
And I wanted to see more of that character. And like, I would absolutely watch a miniseries, especially if there was an episode that was just her and we got to see what her trajectory was. But at the same time, I feel like, knowing me at least and what my attention span is like with things, if I didn't have a focal character like Molly and Ernest and then having them on the periphery, I would probably lose interest. It would just like, here now, dedicate an hour of your attention to this character. Now they're dead, and we move on.
It
to the
also
next
runs
one.
the risk of getting very soap opera-y because it is an instance where a similar thing keeps happening over and over again. And like, if you do space that out and you have, you'd be like, oh, there's 8 out of 10 episodes, a very similar thing happens. But it's Scorsese. I'm sure he could figure out a way for that to not be the case.
I feel like cutting this into a mini series would actually really kind of like dull its impact. I think that Scorsese really, as a filmmaker, and you see it in the movie, and we'll talk about this kind of as it progresses and where it arrives, but I feel like he really struggled with his place in terms of how do I, this white, Italian American filmmaker, tell this story, right? It's not really my story to tell. I'm not part of this community. What's my angle here? There's definitely something very compelling, and this is also a story, and this is also kind of referenced explicitly in the film, that has been largely ignored, right? So he has this kind of pedigree, and he's like, I have the resources, I can tell this, but how do I tell it And the way that he did it, and part of actually one of the biggest ways that it kind of deviates from the book is that if you look at the subtitle, it's called The Osage Murders and the Birth of the FBI. And the Birth of the FBI is a major part of the book. And so that has been removed. You know, we get the FBI represented by Jesse Plemons' Tom White, who I would say actually is the biggest focal point of the book, and is deliberately in the film reduced to, I think, about 20 minutes of screen time, because they didn't want it to be, well, here comes this, you know, this guy coming into the town, he's going to kind of make everything right. That wasn't the way to tell it. And so the book, because it is this piece of, you know, nonfiction true crime, it starts, the first scene of the book is Anna leaving to go out. And that happens about an hour into the film. And so, you know, we kind of are entered the story through her murder, and then we find out about these other murders, and we're sort of rooted in Molly's perspective about like what the hell's going on. And that is somewhat lacking in this movie, right? We feel it through her performance, but the movie's not anchored by her. In fact, Ernest, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, is also somewhat of like, not a bit part of the book, but it's certainly not, he's not a main character in the story. And so I think that Scorsese's approach was, well, how do I tell the story? And what he kept hearing was, as horrific as this crime was, Molly and Ernest really did love one another. And he could find something in that love story, in that relationship. And so it doesn't absolve Scorsese in terms of being like, well, this is the right way to do it. And I think he feels that way too. But what you end up getting is this kind of inverted true crime story where in the book you're going, who's doing this? What's going on? Like, I don't understand, like, who's responsible. And you don't really find out until towards the end of the book. But Scorsese said, I'm going to take like the culprits, like who's doing this, and I'm going to reveal it in the first like 10 minutes. And you're just going to see it systemically happening over and over again. And it's like nauseating. Like, it's not a really, it has that kind of, you know, propulsive filmmaking that he's so good at, but to watch the story unfold and knowing what's happening, and you're just watching this kind of rot happening from the inside out for over 3.5 hours. I mean, or just about 3.5 hours. I think that he wants you to kind of sit in the discomfort of that. And so I question if cutting it into, you know, hour-long installments would sort of benefit his approach, right? But yeah, I'd love to talk more about that too, about kind of like, what is the right approach? I don't know if there really is one, if he's going to make the movie, you know?
Yeah, I think the right approach is, first off, when you're dealing with that much information, is just picking a focus in some capacity, like having some in, which I think he did. And it's interesting to me hearing that Ernest is like less prominent in the book, because when I was reading up on the wiki page about pre-production on this movie before we came onto this conversation, I was reading that Leo was initially supposed to play Jesse Plemons' role, and then he decided, no, I want to be Ernest. And so that made no sense to me based on the movie that I saw, that Leo would want to be like that tiny 20-minute character. But if like that guy is truly one of the more prominent figures in the book, it makes sense to me that like a version of that movie could have existed where Leo is the FBI investigator who's like putting the pieces together and solving the murders. So in that capacity, I much prefer what we did get, because I do think the love story played out really nicely. And one of the high points for me was just, I think the two of them worked really nicely together, Lily and Leo. And that might even be why I liked Leo in this so much more than usual. I felt like there was more chemistry between him and Lily than I tend to see between him and other scene partners in other things. And yeah. But I don't know, I'll open it up to everyone else to chime in. How do you feel about Leo's role in this? And how do you feel about Scorsese's decision to focus it on the characters he chose to focus it on?
So I feel like so Vince kind of answered a question that I had when I finished watching it. I was like, I wonder if this was a Jack and Rosing of this story. Like, did we just pull some characters out of thin air and make them, but like, I guess they are both in the book, right? Like, they are both truly
true characters,
actual characters in there. They've just decided to focus more on them. So it's kind of like a yes, he did, but no at the same time. Like, they're both actually relevant characters to the story. So that's a good thing to know. About Leo's role or his acting in this film. I thought there was one scene specifically where he did some fantastic acting, where he goes on about all the different types of women that he likes. I was like, that's really
Blue.
fantastic acting. That
We
really,
know the type of woman you're into.
yeah, I was like, the list is not that long, honey. That was really great acting.
No one
So,
above 26.
Like, wow, you're
when he goes, not like large.
Oh, he didn't
I was
say
like,
old.
Oh my God,
He
get the
didn't say old.
Oscar.
He gave colors, not age.
Oscar now. But
Sure.
overall, like I said, I feel like he was giving me something I've kind of seen before out of him. And it's almost like I can't even really pinpoint what it was in, but like I didn't feel like I was seeing anything new. Like this was not The Aviator, this was not for me. Like from him, you know?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't like I didn't walk away remembering his performance necessarily, which is exactly why he's not getting nominated, and so much else from this
Not.
movie is.
Not for this, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This
I
might be
did
the
full
first
blown.
Leo role though that I've seen him completely charmless in. Even
Oh,
when he's
yeah.
played villains, there's like something about him. He completely strips all notions of charm from this guy and makes him like, just like you're just kind of like I'm sort of stuck with this idiot for like 3.5 hours, and this guy who's like fully an accomplice in the role of this, but like just can't see his own like level of responsibility at all. It's really tricky to kind of anchor a movie like this on a character like that, and it's kind of in some ways a really thankless role for Leo to be playing. But what's interesting about this award cycle too is that he seems to have you guys noticed he's kind of stepping aside a little, like even though I'm sure he would have loved a nomination, but when he's been going to award shows, it just seems like he's kind of there to like champion Lily Gladstone and maybe Scorsese to a degree. He just doesn't seem like he's like, sometimes he seems like he really wants it, and this year I feel like he's kind of cool with not being nominated.
I mean, smart move, I think, with like just in general the message of the film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
He was taking up a lot of more spotlight. It would not be appropriate, I don't think.
No.
Give me the award.
Like, step back, Leo. No, I love knowing that in the book it like Ernest is not such a forefront character. And I do like I think that's a very smart move on Scorsese's part and his co-writer to like really bring some like relatability into the story so that we have as an audience a buy-in. Because that's what I bought into. I did not care about De Niro's relationship with Leo. Like I was very interested in Lily and Leo. That was my buy-in. Maybe that's not it for everyone else. But yeah, I think like I think Leo did an amazing job, and he reminded me a lot of his role in Revolutionary Road, where he kind of does have a charm at the beginning of both movies, but he like devolves, and you're like, oh no, like you are like rotten, you're scum, like this is like this, the system has taken over you, and you believe that you're gonna get something from what you're doing or what other people are telling you to do. And I think he did he was great. I think he was fantastic. I'm glad to see this new era of Leo.
Yeah, I enjoyed this era of Leo. I want to see more charmless Leo. Again, I'm picking out why I like
The
this.
day the man puts
Turn the charm
a weight
It's a
suit on,
prosthetic nose.
yeah, puts
Oh.
like something that makes
That was a
him look
prosthetic nose,
not
though.
like Leo.
That was a prosthetic nose, right?
Oh, in this, I don't know. No, if it
I
was,
didn't
he would be
notice
nominated.
his teeth definitely looked fake,
The
but I
teeth
didn't
were-
notice
yeah.
Yeah, his face was a little like different.
his jaw was
structured.
different. Yeah.
Because
This was, I think, the first. Oh, sorry.
No, every time he like did like a profile shot, I was like, that's not his nose. Like I know Leo's nose.
Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
not fully.
I've seen that nose.
there.
That's not that nose.
Not a nose. So for best noses of the season, I think it's gonna be between Bradley Cooper and Leonardo DiCaprio. So
That's an honorary award I could get behind.
I think that this is the first movie that no, it definitely is the first film that Scorsese had both of his kind of muses, De Niro and DiCaprio, in the same movie. He directed them in a commercial once.
Mhm.
But I was always like, I wonder if these guys are ever going to act together in a Scorsese movie. Did you guys ever see This Boy's Life from the early 90s? Do you guys know that movie?
No.
Oh my
That
god,
movie had a
ages
very
ago. Ages
young
ago.
Leonardo DiCaprio,
Yeah.
and his stepdad is played by Robert De Niro. He has this kind of abusive stepfather, and he's being raised by his mom. I think is Ellen Barkin, and like De Niro and DiCaprio together in that movie are so good. And it was like right at the beginning of Leo's film career. So it's really interesting to see them decades later in very different stages of their careers acting together again under that Scorsese umbrella.
Oh, yeah, they were so good together. I love watching them together.
De Niro, I haven't seen De Niro like I've seen him like he's great in The Irishman, but I wouldn't say his performance specifically like really tied that movie together for me.
So droll.
But he here is like he's doing stuff and he's really giving it and like
yeah.
I thought he was just phenomenal in it, and I've
thought
been kind
he
of
was
waiting
giving,
for De
like,
Niro to act
Goodfellas
again.
energy in this
Mhm.
movie, because overall, if you look at it, like we said, it's a true crime movie, but it is like it's borders on mob movie. Like it feels like a mob movie when we're focusing on them and not the story with Molly. When we're focusing on like the crimes, I feel like it starts to go into that Scorsese mob era. And which is a good thing. That's a familiar place to be, and I think as someone who likes his films, it's a nice, like, you like that feeling when you go there. It's a good place.
It kind of just goes to show that something like Goodfellas or something that propulsive like a mob movie and something that's really just about like American history, like there's just so much of a kind of connective tissue of just like capitalism and like money just like corrupting and ruining everything, like it almost doesn't even really matter what sphere it is. It's just going to do that no matter what.
The mob, that little mob thing, you can kind of stick it in a lot of different eras and a lot of different, and you didn't have to stick it in this story. It was there. It's just the way he tells it kind of plays that edge up.
Yeah. So you mentioned American history, and that's the thing I wanted to dive into. Like, did anyone going into this movie have any pre-existing knowledge of what this movie was going to be about the Osage Nation, about the Reign of Terror? I think that's what they called the string of murders. Did anyone know? I didn't know. This movie taught me a lot about history. I
think I remember, like, in August Osage County, I think they mention it.
They do?
I mean, it's a kitchen table drama, and their maid is an Indigenous woman, and I think they like allude to this history. It's obviously very racist, but like, I didn't really learn a lot of Canadian Indigenous history in school, so I had no idea of a lot of American Indigenous history. So
that was the thing that I found the most interesting. Well, I found lots of things interesting and compelling, but one of them was, I don't have a ton of knowledge of Canadian Indigenous history, but like I talked about last year when we were talking about Peter Pan movies, specifically in Tiger Lily and whatnot. And like, I got a little bit in elementary school where they taught us about like specific communities that were around and still are around in geographically where I am, but I feel like this is the most exposure I've gotten to other Indigenous communities like further south on this landmass. Like I realized I had no knowledge about like the Osage tribe or other tribes or other communities that aren't the ones from here. So it was just so fascinating to me to see what this differences were and what the similarities were, and just to see what the culture assimilation kind of was, at least as it was portrayed in this movie. But yeah, I found that really cool and eye-opening, and it made me want to learn more, especially with the oil and everything surrounding that, about like what they were entitled to and what the government did to step in to say you are or you aren't allowed to like take ownership of. Like I found that fascinating, and I want to learn more.
I will say that like the fact that they have Scorsese and the whole production team, like they utilized the Osage Nation as a resource in the movie and like actually use them as consults. Like they consulted with them. I think like that's the utmost respect from like white creators trying to tell this story of Indigenous history. It's not only American history, it's like their people's history as well. But like, I guess like this is the thing that like I keep hearing like a discourse about, and I kind of agree. Like in terms of this movie being if you like distill it to these murders of these women,
Mhm.
it goes to it's a narrative about like murdered Indigenous women, and it's great that they have used the resources they've gotten from the Osage Nation, but it's very reticent that this is still like a patriarchal led like group of people, and it's very obvious in the movie that it's not coming from the women in the story. Whether that's right or wrong, it's like whatever. I don't prefer it. And I think there's a lot of Indigenous women that are like online having this discourse about it because they don't feel seen or represented in it, which like fair. Like this is like a huge story about like women who they're seeing on screen that it's not actually coming from them. So that's where I'm like, I wonder if there is a universe, if there was a way for this story to also include more of Molly's voice and make it more of a mystery. Like I know it's coming from like a very mobster true crime place right now, but I wonder if it was flipped and it's coming from Molly's perspective and even her sister's perspective, her mom's perspective, like what that movie would have looked like. Would it have been more respectful? Would it have been better? Would it have been worse? I don't know. I think these are like questions that like we should consider, especially when it's talking about people who have had such violence caused against them. But yeah.
No, that's something that was kind of going through my mind as well. Again, I'm admitting basically full ignorance to all of the issues and the context and everything. But when I was doing my research for my Tiger Lily video, 2 years ago now, about the history of how that character has been represented, I found a really interesting, it was either an article or like a series of tweets by an Indigenous creator and editorialist. And she was saying the problem with Disney's portrayal of Tiger Lily is that even though she is drawn to be more human than the other characters in her community, the big problem is that she's largely silent, or she doesn't talk through the entire movie, and she's ultimately just a prop that's being used by men. And then I was kind of had that in the back of my mind while I was watching how Molly was being portrayed. Like she's definitely not a silent character, but she doesn't talk for a lot of it. So much of the strength of Lily's performance too is in like the nonverbal moments where she's just observing and existing. And I was just thinking, is this playing into that stereotype, for lack of a better word, or that almost trope of like we have an Indigenous woman who is just being silent, but also how much of that is informed by the fact that that's the role they've kind of been put into because of what life has become and been for them through how people have treated them. So it's, I don't know. I have no answers, but I'm curious. I want to read.
I do think like it's so interesting that like the Osage people like had such wealth. Like I have not heard a lot of nations stories that come from like a lot of success. So it's like see that at the beginning of the movie of like these Indigenous people just living it up and having.
That was why I wanted more Anna.
Like, oh my god, I
want to see Anna partying.
Some of that archival footage is real too, not all of it, but some of
really?
it is stuff that they were able to find and extract and put
Black
into
and white
the film,
stuff.
which is kind of amazing to see. It is amazing. They were like the wealthiest people per capita in the world or something. It says at the beginning, and just even that shot of the oil and like just the way that that's captured and they're dancing in it, and it's like just this kind of ecstatic moment. It's like it's very, very powerful.
I feel like he needs like that celebration, especially before like going into all of the grit and the terror that happens. So
there are not many, but there are a few moments of joy. Sorry about cat. This happens every time. Anytime I'm sitting at the computer, I apologize. But there are little moments here and there that are really joyful in the film. And that whole question around Molly, I think, is such a valid question, and I think it is a hard question to definitively answer in terms of how exactly. If Scorsese's making this film, like what is sort of the most like correct avenue? And part of what he felt was in some ways to kind of not rob the story of its drama, but sort of not make the sort of dramatic like reveal the crucial part of the story. And it kind of goes against your instinct sometimes, I would imagine, as a storyteller, to be like, I'm going to just tell you outright who's doing this. And you're just going to kind of sit in that feeling for a very long time, you know?
Well, that also
the book is structured a lot more
about those characters.
Yeah,
right?
and it also doesn't
Get that out of
sensationalize
way,
the
'cause
murder
you're
by
not,
having it be about the mystery too, which I like.
Exactly.
right.
It's,
I
it's
think
also
you didn't want to do
about,
that.
like, the why, right? It's not about the who. Like, we know who it is. It's these guys. But it's like the why, and you get into the insidiousness of it, which is like that's a story that we should be investigating as people looking back on history, on colonization, and on like these things that we've done to oppress other groups of people.
To Lisa, kind of in what Lisa's talking about, to the question that you had asked a little bit ago, like how much of this we knew about. I grew up learning a crap ton about like indigenous history in this country. In North America, it's all North America, but like, in this area, the southern US, but then also like the rest of the US, and they go into detail. The thing that I don't think that I ever remember learning, I feel like we learned about those people, but we learned about them in the time before white people came to this country. Like, we learned about their history up until we got here, and then we did learn about the Trail of Tears and like all of that, like basically what we did, like we learned what we did to them. The thing I didn't know going into this film is how modern this era was going to be. Like, when we started watching it, I was like, oh no, this has got to be like 1890, 1900, maybe. And then it turns out that it's actually like the 20s into the 30s, and it's like, oh, I didn't know stuff like this was happening then.
And it's not that long ago, which is shocking.
Yeah,
Like, one thing that I found really cool was, I live on Wikipedia before these things. I pulled up the wiki page for real Molly in real life, and she was born almost exactly 100 years before Lily Gladstone, like 1886 versus 1986, which I just find fascinating because it feels like it's so much longer ago.
Yeah.
But like those two women are only 100 years apart. And like, how much has changed? How much hasn't changed? Yeah.
I bet that's how people like.
What? That was the last thing he did.
His brother.
Well, he dies when, like, he lives until, or is it Ernest or no? It's, they say that whatchamacallit, the King guy, Hale, he lives until he's like 80 something. Yeah, but I don't know what that equates to, because he was pretty old at the time.
Pretty old,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe this, who knows, 50s.
And
60s.
Hale was like really, and they kind of, they show this in the movie, but I don't know if you really like if it fully captures the extent of like how much this guy was trusted by these people.
Yeah, see, that's
really
one of those
trusted
things that I felt the movie could have, like, didn't spend as much time as I would have liked, like, showing us that, like,
they showed us that they did. They didn't explain why.
Yeah.
And I was like, these people are not stupid. Like, obviously, like, they're not brainwashed. It was interesting. They showed us that they definitely did trust him, but didn't really give a lot of explanation as to why.
That was kind of a question I had for the whole movie. I was like, yeah, these people are not stupid. Molly's not stupid. Why is she marrying Ernest? I grappled with that a few times. I mean, granted, but she even says, like, you want money. It's one of the first things she says to him.
Yeah.
Like, she knows.
She knows.
Yeah, but she says he'll be faithful.
Oh, that's true.
And that's what she's like, I know he wants my money, but I know he's going to be faithful.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also kind of beyond sort of the kind of like macro ideas of the film and sort of what it's saying in a societal way. It's also really a story about what if the person who loves you the most, who really loves you the most, is trying to destroy you and take everything from you, and loves you, but is also poisoning you. And what would you, it's like, I think that there is a part of her the entire time that has this, she kind of knows it. She carries it in her body almost the whole movie.
Yeah.
But to admit it, to really confront it, would be to admit that everything in your life is over. It's a lie, and you've been lied to this entire time.
And you want to still firmly believe that, like, your partner in life is not going to betray you,
Yeah.
even if you are. And like you can also like just imagine like yes, other people are going through this, my sisters are going through this, but it can't happen to me, right? Like there you could see all of that in Lily's performance. She didn't need to say it. There were so many times like at the table I was like telling Vince, I was like, she knows, like she has
That's the thing, right? That's the thing you keep wondering the whole time is like, does she know? Does she
Yeah, well,
not
she always
know?
goes back to that I'm afraid, right? That's a common thing. To, well, at least not always, but when she gets in that period, right, she has that consistent expression.
And also in the book, when you're reading it, because nothing's really revealed until the later stages of the book, it is a lot in some ways. Like you start to get a sense of it over time, but it is a little bit more sort of shocking how deep the kind of corruption of it all went, and how much planning there was, and how all of the like these hitmen were being killed to protect that whole element. Like because you know it from the jump as an audience member in the film. It is easier to kind of be like, this is so happening. It's happening like in plain sight everywhere, which was exactly what was happening. But it is easy to kind of go, God, like it's so obvious, you know. But I feel like there is an element.
Yeah, and the reality, it wasn't quite.
It does remind me, that whole element reminded me a lot of watching like some movies that depict it more accurately than others, but like basically like the pre-civil rights South, as far as like interactions between communities of free Black people and the community and the neighborhoods that they lived in. And that it reminded me to that note, this is going to be a wild statement, and I don't think Aaron agreed with me when I told him, but there were a lot of beats in this movie, cinematography wise, story wise, slightly message wise, that kept reminding me of Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
And
yes, Jeanette. Yes.
Okay, I wanted to know I wasn't totally crazy, but
I've only seen Gone with the Wind once, but connect the dots for me. Connect the dots
so
for
much
me.
as like a preteen and teen.
Same.
The way that he used, like we said earlier, those scenes that are just shots of stuff that don't really technically have anything to do with the story, but in a dramatic movie like this, world building is hard, I think. Like good world building. And so like to give us those scenes of like people running down a dusty road, cars, specifically the scenes of like the cars driving down the dusty roads and stuff really reminded me of Gone with the Wind, like a lot, cinematography wise. But even just down to the relationship between them two, like how it's not beneficial really for either of them to be together. Like it's not helping either one of them. And it's a pretty sad story. Like the whole thing is sad.
Can you imagine that? Oh, yes.
That makes
it
coming back to me little, like every 20 minutes or so, it would just kind of be like, oh, that kind of reminds me of Gone with the Wind as well. So yeah,
I haven't seen it in so long.
And
I wish I could. I wish I could remember.
I want to do one of these.
Now I kind of want to see it again, just knowing that
it's another 3.5-hour movie. But that has an but that has a built-in intermission. That's an actual has an intermission.
Sound of Music, nice.
Yeah, no, I feel like I've not watched Gone with the Wind more in my life out of solidarity with Wizard of Oz because of #Oscars.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a big rivalry.
Yeah, it was robbed.
Wizard of Oz is just an easier watch in general.
It is.
And a better movie.
But Vivian Lee won that year for
Scarlet. She did. And I feel like she deserved it. I would need to rewatch it, but yeah. She could have won that, and Wizard of Oz could have won Best Picture, but no, it all had to go with Gone with the Wind.
You know.
Oh, okay, yes.
That does not seem as contentious as you're making it, but
no. Well, also 1939 was the stiffest competition for movies.
Yeah, there was a lot.
I mean, in my mind, that's a hard decision to make, honestly.
Oh, okay.
There were others too. Like I think there was a Hunchback adaptation that was apparently really good.
Victory with Betty Davis.
Yeah. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Mr. Someone Goes to Washington was another one that is apparently quite good.
He went.
Was it
Smith?
Mr. Smith went to Washington.
We have confirmation.
He went there.
Oh, we should do just like the 1939 movie marathon.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Right? Yeah, all the critics say it's the best
We could
year.
all show up in black and white. We can make our webcam black and white.
Oh, I'm
It'd
gonna
be
learn how to do
great.
the black
Just
and
like-
white contour.
The
Yeah.
makeup. I thought you were
I
gonna say we
love
could all come up like dressed as our favorite character from 1939 movie, and then it's just everyone dressed as Scarlett O'Hara in the curtain
Oh
dress.
God! But I would do the Carol Burnett Scarlett
Yes.
O'Hara. That would be
Yes, yeah.
so good.
Scarlett, that dress is beautiful. Thank you. I saw it in the window, and I just had to have it. It's so good.
Oh, so
Um,
good.
Oh yeah, Killers of the Flower. Depressing
We had
movie.
to-
Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower
I'd have a
Moon.
little happiness.
So okay, well we
That's-
kind of discussed Lily, but let's take a moment to dive into Lily Gladstone, Best Actress nominee, potentially a front runner. I feel like the front runner alongside Emma, just based on Golden Globe wins. First off, do we feel she deserved the nomination? I mean, I don't want to assume we all think she does, but do we think she does, and why? Lisa, go.
I have a controversial statement that I don't know if I agree with, but from a critical stance, I'm like, I think it's more of a supporting character. Like,
Interesting.
I don't know, like, just based on like the amount of screen time like Leo and De Niro had,
Yeah.
I'm like, this technically is more of a supporting role. I'm not mad that it's like she's up for Best Actress, but like, I don't know, logistically, like, does it make sense that it's a lead nomination? I don't know. I don't know.
I kind of felt that too going in, because going in there was so much hype for me around Lily's performance, just with the award and then also things I'd heard from other people, that I expected her to be more prominent. And I kept on waiting for like the moment. I thought there would be a speech, for example, or something like 5 minutes of her crying and expressing something, and then probably by hour 2.5 I realized, oh, it's the understated quality that makes her performance in this so good. Like there's not going to be a speech.
It's her acting, the illness, and that the look that we're supposed to like take away if she knows or not. Like, I hear you about the supporting actor thing, but I think specifically because of the tone and the message of this film, if you don't make whoever is the most prominent woman in this film or most prominent Indigenous woman in this film the lead actress, then you've got an issue.
Yeah, like I do think
and-
narratively she is a supporting, just since they do focus it on Leo.
Yeah.
And I
Just-
don't feel like I felt like she was on the screen just as much as Leo.
Yeah.
I didn't notice a disparagement there.
Yeah, like I think it's like a
But
Michelle
that could
Williams in the
just
Fablesman
be me.
situation, where it
Yeah.
feels supporting, but also if you can't do it without her.
Maybe it's just
Yeah.
because like Leo talks so much, like
Yeah.
so much.
He doesn't shut up.
He doesn't shut up
You're
because
just like,
he's-
shut up.
Like Ernest is so stupid. Like when he like doesn't know, like the whole time, that part where like De Niro's trying to explain to him why if he testifies against his like himself, like he's not gonna get a plea deal or whatever. Like he needs to, like you could see the stupidity in his face. Not getting it.
You could see the lack of
Oh
of
man, this is
understanding
reminding me
all
of
of
Tropic Thunder so much. Okay.
Also,
How?
when he's
Just-
trying to describe it to Molly, like
The
why
method.
he needs to, I'm like, Molly
Okay.
knows this is stupid. Anyway, I think it's just that Leo talks so much. She's so graceful, and she doesn't need to talk a lot.
Her people don't. So
Yeah,
They
smart
make a
people don't.
specific point of that too. They're like
Yeah.
they're a quiet
Yeah.
people. Like
So-
yeah,
so
they don't have. Yeah, they.
Yeah,
I
but
think
oh my
she's
God, she plays
she's
Six
the-
so
yeah.
well. She
Oh, yeah.
plays when she
Mhm.
was poisoned. I was like, that's it.
She was
That's it.
poisoned. I was poisoned. Yeah.
Yeah.
and she is like the heart of the movie, right? I mean, it's tough. Like, how do you measure a lead versus a supporting? Is it screen time? Is it dialogue?
Yeah,
like
I
there's
wanna-
so many different like barometers that you could use to kind of justify. Yeah, she's supporting, or yes, she's lead. I can see why they ran her in lead. I think that she, like everybody's kind of saying here, like just totally dominates the screen when she's on it, and I think she is on it, quite a bit, but she just spends so much time with her body kind of falling apart, and she's bedridden, and she's a character who's suffering. But man, like the scenes, like one of the scenes that really stands out to me in this movie is when De Niro shows up like on her bed, and she's
Right.
like, "Are you real?" and then he kind of vanishes. just like moments like that are, like sometimes the movie it's not afraid to kind of live on a line of like mystical almost, like the owls and the way that people transition into death. And I think that Gladstone's performance really I think it really anchors the whole movie, really works because of her. So I kind of see both sides of it, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's quite a performance.
Oh, it is.
I want to quickly throw my 2 cents and just say that for me, I always just automatically assume that the most, like kind of what you were saying, Jeanette, like the most prominent female character is the like leading woman, like is the lead actress in a movie. Like, unless I'm sure I can think of movies where it's about a bunch of guys and there's
such a
like
small part. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but in principle, kind of going back to the reader that we brought up of whatever last discussion, right? Like to me, like clearly, what's her name, Kate Winslet or whatever, like she's the lead actress of that movie.
Yeah,
but like
recording, like that's.
Yeah, so like to me, like not to like, I mean, I'd be curious. I guess it'd be a fun exercise to like kind of to what you were speaking to, Ben, like go down the path of like, how do you like create some kind of objective, like, measurement and criteria to determine what is supporting, what is lead, etc. That sounds interesting to kind of develop that system. But like my bias and my inclination is just to be like, yeah, no, if you're a woman on screen for like, whatever X amount, like, yeah, if you're like a prominent female character or the prominent female character, then you're going to be like, and if you're a counterpart romantically or otherwise to the clear like male protagonist, then you're also like that's also kind of like, okay, yeah, you're the female protagonist.
Yeah. Are you on the poster? Is your face in the middle of the poster?
Sure.
However, that would make Drew Barrymore the star of Scream, and
oh yeah.
Well,
although that was a brilliant marketing ploy, though.
I think this movie needed better posters.
All the posters.
The posters,
they're all kind of generic. I feel like they could have really mixed it up a little.
The poster is so nice with her hugging Leo.
Many years, just Drew like.
Yeah, the movie is like stylistic visually in a lot of cases. To your point about posters, Ben, like it could have probably. It seems like it could have done like, I mean, that shot you mentioned of like the indigenous people dancing in the oil and stuff. Like there are a lot of cool shots that this movie could have used for.
There is one that's there is one that was done. It was like commissioned. It was an indigenous artist poster art. And it's beautiful. It's like the back of a woman in like her blanket, and it's just gorgeous. I wish that had gotten like released as like an official one.
Oh, can you?
Because it's really nice.
Send it to us, Ben.
Yeah, I wonder if I can like link to it or something. I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Well, Ben does that. We have our final guest. It's Vince, everybody.
Oh, we got a new guest.
Yes.
Hey, hello, America. How's it going?
That's
Hello, America.
Vince, have you
this is an American broadcast.
Ben, do you and Vince know each other? Do you?
No. Let me say hi to Vince. Hello, Vince.
No, Ben. Haven't we met before?
Maybe you've just watched Ben.
Ben's been on a couple.
Weren't you in one of the Indiana Jones reviews?
No, I wasn't.
No,
I wasn't.
What's his name? There was Chris Bond.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Ben.
It's great to meet you, Vince. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I thought you were great in the Elvis review.
Oh, thank you. So that was a blast to do. That was so much fun. We had a good time.
That's one that will go down in history.
Yes, Ben is the Elvis fan for the centuries.
I don't remember the Elvis one. Was it really good?
Oh my God, yes. I did not like Elvis, and Ben loved it.
Ben is the fan. I wanted him to show us a little Elvis hat and a little flag, and
yeah.
I just came in to Stan. That's all I did.
And you have the steel book. Yeah.
I'm putting in the chat. Oh, it said that the comment failed to post. I'm going to work on this because I want you guys at some point after the stream to check this poster out. It's really nice.
I want to see it. I'm excited.
Send it
to Matt so Matt can share it on.
I'll share it.
Oh, okay. That's what I'll do. I'm putting in the private chat.
Okay.
Vince is here.
Vince
I love it.
here.
There we go. Okay.
So Vince,
I'm sorry I'm late, everyone, but I'm here.
It's not a problem. We're happy to have you. So, what are your thoughts on this film?
I liked it. Yeah, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was like spectacular, but I don't know. I kept thinking about The Revenant watching it, and when I hear that it was based on a nonfiction book, Killers of the Flower Moon, I mean, that's interesting because Revenant was based on kind of a nonfiction book, but a fictional retelling of a nonfiction story. And I thought the book was far better than the movie. And I don't think Leo's winning anything for this because he's not nominated. So, now,
accurate.
This film also reminded me of an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation called Journey's End. Mm-hmm. It's season 7, episode 20 for anyone who wants to watch it. Now, that's important because towards the end of the 7th season, they were running out of ideas. So they come up with this one plot. What if we send Jean-Luc Picard to this planet that's entirely populated by indigenous people, and he's got to kick them off? And it's a rough one. It's rough, and I gotta tell you,
I don't want to see my dear Jean-Luc Picard become a colonizer.
I know
it gets more hectic because the indigenous people on the planet, they do some research on Picard and they find out that his ancestor massacred tons of indigenous people in like the 1800s.
Are these like high-tech indigenous people?
Yes, yeah. They're equally
they're aliens, of course.
Got you. As progressed as
they're not aliens. They're indigenous people from the planet Earth that
who traveled and colonized themselves.
Yes.
Whoa.
Okay,
they're sick of our crap. They're
yeah. Wait, did I watch that one?
Yes, you did. Unfortunately, the subplot is a Wesley Crusher subplot, so that's why you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Whoa,
not Wesley.
Who's
What's
Wesley
your problem?
Crusher? What?
It's Wee's like, he's Will Wheaton.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm not here to talk about Will Wheaton. We can dedicate a whole other episode to that.
I'm starting a Big Bang Theory podcast.
Oh God, oh no.
I'll start a Young Sheldon podcast.
Great.
I've never seen.
I'll start a Stand By Me podcast.
Yes.
I love
what a good movie. What a good movie that is.
That was a childhood staple for young.
It's a spectacular
young
film.
It is.
I think Lily Gladstone was fantastic. I think especially her sick acting was very believable.
Oh, we were just talking about that when you came in.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
She was excellent sick acting. But also when Leo was crying in the jail cell, I thought that was spectacular acting too.
Crying.
I haven't seen Leo cry like that since Basketball Diaries, and that was good stuff.
I was about to say something about Basketball Diaries earlier.
I'm sorry.
Oh
please feel free to say it. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got right now.
It was just that. Whenever we were talking about something with the Robert De Niro movie, and I was like, yeah, he was in that like Basketball Diaries era.
Leo crying. I enjoyed Leo crying. There was actually, I very much appreciated the Leo shot when he's being questioned by John Lithgow, and just one long take.
Speaking of which, did not know Lithgow was going to show up,
and I didn't know Brendan Fraser was going to show up.
Brendan Fraser.
You hear him?
Yes. You hear John.
You hear his voice, and you're like, "Oh my God, could it be?
Yeah.
Could it be?"
And then it's Lithgow, and you're like, "Yes!" And it's
You're
such
like,
a
is
victory
Lord
for cinema.
Farquaad in this movie? Get out of here!
After that point, like after we see Brendan Fraser, the entire time there's like a group of white guys. I'm like scanning, like, who else do I know in here?
Yes.
Can you find the wolves in this picture? That's what you're asking yourself.
Exactly.
It was like, Rami Malek in Oppenheimer.
I was like, why is he not getting supporting actor nomination? He's on screen for like 5 minutes. I'm like, this man deserves an Oscar.
Oh my God.
They all deserve Oscars. Speaking of those who deserve Oscars, what else is this nominated for? Cinematography. Talk me through who liked the cine and why. Because it was fine. It didn't stand out to me. But tell me why it deserves an Oscar if anyone thinks it does.
It reminded me of The Power of the Dog, which I know a lot of people on here dislike.
It's not a good opening
I like
statement.
it, Lisa.
No, because the reason why I love The
with
Power
you.
of the Dog that no one else does is because of the cinematography. Like those wide shots of the landscape. Get the town. If you can somehow get the perfect temperature on the perfect day with the perfect lights, and you do all of that. Oh my God, like you are working with magic. And I just think they did it incredibly well. And I think it added to the story, just like Jeanette was talking about with Gone with the Wind. It was part of the world building. And this, highly recommend. Great nomination for them.
Yeah, it's not especially showy. It's not kind of doing like Oppenheimer. Like I mean, I think that this movie did weirdly enough get a limited IMAX release, even though it wasn't shot in that format. But like, you know, Nolan's like big, like we're gonna tell this like, you know, this story in this massive scope. And like Lisa, like you're saying, like there's really expansive, just beautiful, very like considered shots throughout the whole movie. And the lighting is gorgeous, and it's not showy, but it's contributing to the feeling of the time and the place and the mood. It's like a very, I think, excellent mood setting for the whole thing.
Yeah, I would say there's also probably like there are a handful of like showier shots too. Like this again, the one that we already mentioned a couple times, the oil kind of moment at the beginning, and then there's also the car racing moment. The camera, there's a cool like cinematic shot where I forget, it does something neat. It does something neat where it like
It down,
yeah, it does something neat. So there are a couple of times where something a bit more towards showy happens. But otherwise, I agree. Like the cinematography, I didn't find it like I didn't pay particular attention to it. But retrospectively, I think the cinematography, alongside the editing, which you know always go hand in hand, I think did a really good job of conveying atmosphere and narrative in this movie. Like it's probably, you know, if I watched it with a keen eye, I'm sure that I would be in the camp of like, yeah, no, the cinematography is notable.
Yeah, it struck me just as being good and competent. Same with the editing, as opposed to, and maybe that's just because there wasn't a showy factor to it. But like it did.
The editing was the thing that really, I mean, because it's Thelma. Thelma's like a genius.
That's his go-to editor, right?
Yes, they've been working together for decades, and like, you know, she's never about like, you know, just pure continuity. It's always about like what's going to be the best for like the moment. And she has an amazing quote that maybe you guys have heard, but maybe not, where I forget who it was who was complaining about the violence in Martin Scorsese movies. And they were like, how can you work with this man who makes such violent movies? And she's like, guess who makes them violent? I do. I'm the one that creates the violence. I'm paraphrasing, but it's correct, right? Like she's exactly the person that that really like
focuses it and creates
all of that stuff. I mean, there's amazing cuts in this film, like the, you know, after the first meeting that you have between De Niro and DiCaprio, the end of that scene is De Niro's character just going like, the Osage they're just the most amazing people. They're wonderful people. And then we cut to that guy writhing on the floor and he's foaming at the mouth. And it's like a really blunt edit, but man, it does its job. You know, like I think she did. Yeah, that's the quote, Anna. They're not violent until I edit them. It's an amazing quote.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's an interesting. It kind of opens up an interesting discussion of like, can you distinguish? Can you like how much can you assess cinematography without editing, and vice versa, if you will. But I would say, you know, for our purposes, it's probably well enough to consider them basically together, you know, intertwined the way they are.
I think the cinematography was really good. I just don't, comparatively in the category, I think that there's two other, in my opinion, really, really strong contenders. And I haven't seen Maestro, so like, who knows? But
who else is nominated?
Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Maestro, El Conde, and Killers of the Flower Moon. So like, I think that this one is a nice middle, because while Nolan's big and flashy, I think he'll get a lot of attention. I think the cinematography in that movie was talked about from the time it came out. And my choice for the category is Poor Things, but that's going to be the theme this whole season.
My choice would have been Barbie if it was nominated, but it was the same guy. So I guess
Was it the same guy that did
Yeah.
Barbie and Killers?
Killers of the Flower Moon. Yep.
I
Like he
didn't know
started
that.
Barbie
Really?
like the day after he wrapped
Right.
Killers of the Flower
That
Moon.
rules. Can you imagine like the tonal shift in
I
his
know.
life of like doing that and going to Barbie land? That's
God.
awesome.
Oh, rad. Oh my
That
god.
rules. This movie is also chock full of visual effects, and you never would know it because they're
What?
all
Yeah.
so well integrated. I got to see
Well,
a
'cause-
VFX reel for this
Yeah.
movie.
Well, like the
it
murders or
showed,
beyond the murders?
Some of the murders, but like shots that have like cows everywhere. They added all the cows, the backdrops of
Fake
streets were
cows.
all digitally. Yeah,
Oh,
they
I
had so many
didn't know
cows they added.
Well, there's
Like,
explosions and there's a lot
Wow.
of there's a lot of death and
Mhm.
it's subtle stuff too. It's like nobody's getting their head blown off. Like it's a lot of really subtle stuff that like somebody foaming at the mouth is a special effect. Like that's
Right.
Mhm.
I mean,
There's
there
more than
is-
you're
I-
meant to know, and they did a
Mhm.
good job. I think I don't
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
had a best visual effects nomination.
No,
I
it
really
did
doubt
not.
it.
No,
But
that's
they
gonna
made a
go
really
to
compelling case with
Guardians
their
of the
reel.
Galaxy.
Well, let's see, what else was it nominated for? So we've talked about editing. So production design and costume design are two other nominations for this film. How did everyone
Mhm.
feel? I think it wasn't showy, but it did the job, and I do feel like those two things supported how, well, I was about to say true to the time period it felt. I wasn't there, so who's to say if it felt true to the time period, but it felt right.
Yes, the hats. It was
The
all about the
hat. The man with the hat, and then Jesse Plemons shows up with the most impressive hat, as it was foretold by Lily.
even the hat that Molly gives Ernest, that like that mint green cowboy hat. So good. It's all about the hats for me.
Was
This
it
could
mint
be a
green?
sneak up. This could be
Yeah.
a sneak up in the costume category because of the indigenous like
Mhm.
wear.
Apparel, yeah.
So
yeah.
like depending on how accurate and what was put into that and all of that, like and how much people think that
Mhm.
affected the authenticity.
There was the
of
wedding.
film.
There were a lot of like ceremonial.
Yeah.
pieces.
So because I'm looking at this list and I'm like, oh, there's no way this is going to beat Napoleon or Barbie, and Poor Things is on this list, but it's one of the only ones I didn't choose it for.
Oh, really?
And
Hmm.
yeah, like because I mean they're good, but like in comparison to Barbie, where I think the costumes, like without the costumes, you don't have a movie. Like without Barbie's clothes, you don't really have Barbie.
Yeah,
I feel
so-
I'm thinking like if I were an Academy voter, that's usually how I approach these things. If I had the power to cast my vote, how would I justify it? And with Barbie, even though I want Barbie to win everything, I feel my devil's advocate argument would be that in some ways is easier because it's toys and it's fantasy and like there's no
And the costumes are kind of already
limits.
made.
And they're already
technically,
made
you're
and just
making
making
them
it big. Whereas when you have period pieces, there are so many other things to contend with when it comes to accuracy and likely sourcing fabrics or materials that maybe aren't readily available, and then just having to replicate things with a level of accuracy. And especially when you layer in that you're dealing with basically two cultures at the same time in this film, so that's that's double the type of research, double the work, double the everything. So I feel I would maybe vote for this for costume design.
I need to see Poor Things first. I need to see Poor Things first. But yeah, no, I think the indigenous clothing I thought it was just beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And even the accessories when they were like looting the gravesite. Oh my god. I guess that's more production design, but like I don't know. I thought like the overall again world building of this community, like the main streets town, like I don't know, you don't see those movies a lot nowadays, right? Like
Mhm.
you got a lot of that in like the 50s and the 40s when they were doing westerns. So it was kind of like a nice callback to that movie era. And I think they did a great job.
I agree.
Yeah.
Production.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Agreed. Yeah, and I also appreciate that it was shot on location as to where it actually took place, because I think that makes a huge difference. And yeah, it was great. So another nominee that we've kind of touched on is Robert De Niro for Best Supporting Actor.
Bobby
I mean,
D.
Going into this, my mentality has always been that Best Supporting is probably going to be between Ryan and Robert Downey Jr. and probably Robert Downey Jr. But I feel that Robert De Niro definitely gives them a run for their money. It's also
Ryan
kind of like
who?
the Gosling.
For Barbie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's nominated for Ken.
It's controversial.
I would easily give it to Ryan over De Niro personally. But
I mean, I need to rewatch Oppenheimer. Either well,
wait a minute.
I don't.
Why is Oppenheimer in the running? Who's
because
nominated?
that's what Robert Downey
Junior.
Oh, sorry. I thought Robert De Niro. That's why we were talking.
He is also. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Like all three of them are nominated.
Robert
Plus
Downey
You
Jr.
got Roberts, you got Ryan,
plus two other guys. Plus two other guys. Yeah.
and two other guys.
Yeah, I feel like
Okay.
Robert in this is just undeniably good, but it's also kind of like the Meryl Streep syndrome. I feel where like at this point he's always going to be good, so it just feels like an easy nomination. But having seen the performance, I do think it was acknowledgement worthy. Yeah. How did everyone else feel?
I mean, it's been kind of under discussed in like the running. Like, I feel like there's not a lot of momentum if we're talking about like awards. Like, I feel like there's very few people who'd be like, he's gonna win. But like you, Matt, I'm glad that it's being acknowledged because I think it's been a little while since I've seen De Niro stretch himself in that way to be so kind of insidious and scary, but also have this kind of like weird, like warm grandpa energy that's like a complete, lie. I just thought he was like really doing something different, and he was like super, super effective. I thought I really believed him as this guy. So I'm glad he's getting recognized, even if he doesn't take home a trophy.
No, and I wouldn't be mad if he did take home a trophy.
Yeah, I would be mad about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad.
I secretly want Ryan Gosling to win in this category.
Yeah, same.
Just to
That's like
drive home the irony of the Barton thing, because I think it's so funny. Although other people are outraged. But I do think Robert Downey Jr. is going to get it. He's like such a favorite in the
Can
whole
I
award.
while we're here, I know it's not like the whole Oscars episode, but in this category, after we get like, I find it interesting that Robert Downey Jr. is here.
Mm-hmm.
He is? Bring him out. So I'm just joking.
Because after you watch Poor Things and you see that Mark Ruffalo is nominated, Willem Dafoe's not nominated. And like, just when we get there, we'll say, but like, I find it interesting also that Robert De Niro's in here, because while this was a great role and it made the movie great, again, I didn't feel like I was seeing, like, I literally felt like this was just like, not to keep going back to it, but it's got that mob mentality. I felt like this was his character in Goodfellas. Like, I'm going to take you under my wing. I'm going to like show you the ropes and I'm going to be in charge, but you're going to do like, it felt very that to me. That same.
Yeah, like I don't think it's anything we haven't really seen from him before.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Not
so
that he
in
has to
contrast,
reinvent the wheel every time, but
yeah, and for sure, right? And that kind of contrast, I think, maybe we can unpack it a bit further, depending. But like, right, because Ben, you seem to be coming from that place of like maybe considering this, at least for recent performances, if not all performances of De Niro's, this being somewhat distinguished, unique than what you've seen in the past, right? And I'm in the camp of what Jeanette just said, where it's like for me. And again, I mean, who knows? Watching it, it's like I've only seen it once, right? And you've seen it twice, right, Ben?
Mm-hmm.
So like
yeah,
and that's another thing too. I personally value that. Like, if there's a movie that I like, it doesn't have to be a favorite film, but if I enjoy a movie, I personally will always find value in watching it a second time and so on. So like, but yeah, like for me, and I just wanted to bring up, I know we kind of talked about it a bit previously, but like for me, DiCaprio is more in that camp for me. Whereas I feel like I haven't seen the charmlessness, this type of character. Closest maybe is Revenant, where he was in that kind of grimy state. But there's another movie that is vaguely in the back of my mind where I can imagine DiCaprio as this like normal person, to use kind of Matt's terminology. I think you were saying that seeing him as normal was the thing here.
Yes,
but. Yeah, to me, DiCaprio is much more of like interesting. I'm not used to seeing DiCaprio quite do this kind of stuff, whether or not it's totally unique right now. And then with De Niro, it's like, I love De Niro, but I often consider what I'm seeing to be it's kind of the Al Pacino effect, right? If or whatever what you said, Meryl Streep, Matt. Like for me, the Meryl Streep is Al Pacino, where like I see Al Pacino, he's Al Pacino in every movie. So to me, De Niro, I love him. He's more or less similar, he's nice enough maybe I don't know. This is the next level of Meet the Fockers. You know, he has
It
the
was the Meet the Fockers moment, guys.
yeah.
You know, in the car when he's yelling at Leo,
Yeah.
like after, I think it's like after.
Look at me.
About how he's outside
Yeah.
the circle of
So you
trust
tell me
now?
you understand. Look at me like you understand what I'm
Yes,
saying.
I was like, are they going over to like Harrison Parker or something now?
Anyway, yeah.
It feels very weird. No, yeah.
Yeah, the character is not dissimilar from the Goodfellas character for sure. I just think that he plays. I think there's like subtle sort of key differences where Hale has to, because he has to be so trusted by this community, he has to have this very like warm sort of surface personality. And he has
I
to
don't
be.
think I've ever heard De Niro do Southern before. I'm sure he has, but that was the thing that was different. Like I've never heard him do, especially this like genteel kind of sounding.
He doesn't
quite
typically
nice
do
that he was
accents,
doing.
right? Like, does De Niro have he doesn't really have a huge accent.
Like he's not Meryl Streep in that.
Not that I can think of.
Yeah. He's not like maybe pushing himself to a level where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe De Niro can do this. I think it's more that maybe I've been personally a little bit not like bored by him, but kind of feeling like he's been very comfortable. And I just maybe sense a level of discomfort that maybe pushed him into a place. Yeah, that I was paying more attention to him this time. But I do agree with you that I think of the two, DiCaprio is the one where you're seeing it really is this is a very standout role for DiCaprio in a way, in that he's not like we talked about before, like the charm is just absent and
he's not doing the typical DiCaprio thing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Even though I would say personally, I really enjoy DiCaprio, and I find I find distinction in pretty much every role I watch him in. But there simultaneously there may be an argument for there's a DiCaprio thing amongst all these distinct roles that we're maybe not seeing this time. So it's very cool.
So the one, well, we haven't really discussed Martin Scorsese. But like it was fine. So one big question.
We have to talk about
how was Martin Scorsese's performance?
The cameo.
About Martin
Scorsese.
Yeah, who was he again?
He's in the radio show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At the end, right? Yeah.
That is to me,
I like. That's a really interesting plot point. But yeah.
I think the most radical thing about the whole movie is his cameo. Like I was so honestly just shocked by it. No, because it's not just that. The cameo at the end is like, it's so bold because he's basically, to me, what he's kind of, because, okay, I got to go back for a second. Okay. So the last third of this book is fascinating because it's the first part, the first 2/3 are like, here's like a documentation of like what happened. Here's the story. And then the third part is the author, David Grann, and he goes to Oklahoma and he talks to some of Molly's descendants, and like they talk about what happened, and he's shown photos, and it's the first time in the whole book that the word "I," like for him, David Grann, is used. And I was like, I wonder, like they can't do that with this movie. But what he did, which was kind of miraculous to me, was he has this radio show and it pulls you right out of the movie at the end, and you're getting all this like weird like radio effects and stuff, and then you see Martin Scorsese come out. And you're like, oh my God, that's Martin Scorsese. And he reads what happened to everybody and how Molly passed away and that there was no mention of the murders is the last thing we hear. And it's just so sad. And I think what he's doing in that moment is he's kind of implicating himself. And he's saying, I am part of this whole problem. Like I am making this whole thing into digestible entertainment for you. And I think he feels a level of guilt and responsibility around his role in this, and he's kind of dealing with that in the movie, which I never would have thought that he would, but he kind of does a similar thing to what the author of the book does, just in a completely different way. So I actually think that cameo at the end is I've never seen anything like it in like a narrative movie, like historical movie like this. Yeah. And it really made me think about the whole experience of watching this and going, wow, like I now understand a sense of this story, and like that I know now like generally what happened. But thanks, Anna. It's nice when your girlfriend roots for you on the YouTube channel. I'm glad you're here, Anna. I love you. But yes, I think that really made me think about this film as a piece of entertainment and what it means for this to become entertainment. So that's what I wanted to say about that.
I'm so glad you said that because I had no idea why that happened, that whole scene. And I liked it, but it bothered me. But now I love it because of you. So I agree. So smart, Ben.
I think the reason why, because it also bothered me too when I first saw it. I was like, how dare you place yourself in this story, Martin Scorsese? Like, it felt like a little bit of an ego boost for him. Like, that was the first impression I got. But after like having some days to marinate on it, that is what you're talking about, Ben. Like, that's the essence. And I think that was his intention. And I think that is a really responsible storyteller. But I'm sure a lot of people like me got that first impression of like, oh wow, he's placing himself in the story. Whoop-de-doo. Like, I don't know if like his intention of that might be landing on all the people the same way. And that's okay. I think that's fine. I also think if people are leaving being like, what an ego, like, I think that's also like, yeah, like that's still talking about like, oh, well, why is this white guy making this story? And I think that is part of the narrative. So it's so good. Yeah, it's a really good thing to meditate on.
What did we think about the whole, like, there's, whatever, years, decades later, there's a radio play doing this, telling this story as entertainment, because both to what Ben just said, right? There's that simultaneous to the meta element and referential element of the author Scorsese and the author in the book putting themselves in the story, different though they may be. There's the meta element of the piece of entertainment we're watching having within it a entertainment piece telling the story that, right? It's a meta retelling of the same story we've just been watching. What do we think about that? Because to me, I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, like, I thought it was really cool, but I also thought that it helped to, because that was kind of, I mean, obviously I had realized what time we were actually in a little bit earlier in the film, but that to me really drove home, like, not only, hey, at the end of this time period that we're talking about, we're now like, there's radio shows, like we're that modern, but it's also, I thought, pointing out that had mass media been accessible like that, like radio, and very soon after that television, this story might have been known to the American public more than, because it like just missed that mark. And that was kind of how I felt about it. Like, we're telling this story as a story, not as a news piece, because it happened already. But if radio had been around when this was happening, it would have been being reported on, hopefully. But like, that was kind of where I went with it in my head. Was just like, oh, they're telling this story now, and it just happened. Like, it just got done happening.
Like, it was a good way to button the whole narrative, right? Because we know that all of these characters have lives after, like, right before the radio show. Like, we get that. They tell us. But, like, for the incidents that happen, I think, like, that was such an intelligent choice, because it encapsulates, yes, we're like being entertained by this now. How fucked up is that? Sorry. Like, that is messed up. But also, like, it's just an intelligent storytelling choice. Like, when you have the lead character in a Shakespeare play kind of like recapping everything and giving a little bit of like what happens next. It's Shakespearean. It's high drama. Like, that is great storytelling.
Yeah, like instinctively, I didn't like it in the moment. Well, yeah, I was good. Yeah. It felt to me like a more clever way of just like showing a picture and then having the text saying,
like an epilogue text or whatever.
The one part that resonated with me, oddly enough, and like the more I think on it, I feel like this is the impression in one way or another that epilogue is meant to give. But the part that stood out to me was when one of the voice actors like went into doing his indigenous voice, and for me that was very pertinent, because I just watched 3+ hours of very humane, like well-developed human characters who have indigenous ancestry, and like it was moving away from a very stereotypical white perspective impersonation portrayal that I feel I've seen more of in mass media in my lifetime, and then it brings it back to that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just was a little bit of a shock and a little bit of a shake of, oh, this is what you're used to versus what you've just seen.
Well, and I also thought
I
that
appreciated
pointed out
that. Yeah.
what Robert De Niro was saying. He's like, their time's over, it's our time. And they were wealthy and intelligent people, and yet they were still killed out enough for the white man to come in there and take over. And then to show that was like, we have just seen this movie of like, they don't talk like that, right?
Yeah.
But now, again, to show where they are in history, they're going to show, well, this is the generally accepted view because it happened. What Robert De Niro said happened. Like, they didn't talk, even when they were like against those people, they never acted like they were less than. They would talk to each other in private like those people were less than. But then when they would be around the indigenous people, they observed the fact that they were fine, like that they were all operating on the same level.
Yeah.
He also says in the jail cell, is like a standout scene is when he's in prison, because it's like the amount of hubris that this guy Hale had, where he's in jail and he's basically just like, oh, like these people love me. Like I've given them schools and I built them all this stuff and they love me. And guess what? Nobody's going to care about this. Like he says that outright. And it's like very kind of blatant. And a lot of times when movies kind of just have, if you're watching a historical movie and you see someone say something that's obviously true in the present because we have the benefit of hindsight, it can be a little bit like annoying. But I just think it's such a powerful moment in this specific movie because it was such forgotten history for so long. And you know, and it is really sad. And
it also shows his evil when he says something like that too.
Yes, exactly. Like, that he has that amount of like hubris and like to be like, I know for a fact that like none of this really matters because I'm so powerful and I'm so rich, and ultimately people aren't going to care. And for the longest time we didn't. And one of the services that this film does is it allows us to care again, or to even know that it happened. You know?
Yeah.
And so I really thought about that a lot by the end of the movie.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Go for it, Alex.
I was going to say, I'm curious if the radio show was authentic, if it happened. Is that what you're going to say, Lisa, or no?
Well, it was funny. I told Vince, I was like, I wonder if Scorsese ever heard this when he was a kid. Like,
that's what I was wondering. No, I really did. I thought the same thing. I was like, I wonder if Scorsese heard this radio show when he was a kid, and like
I think it was made up. I think that it was a device that they decided to make up,
because that surprised me. Like as a concept, I was thinking like it's such a you were just saying of like forgotten history, and also to the larger point that I think that this last scene and the whole movie kind of begs the question of like the value of, you know, using entertainment to expose people to something historical, right? It's like there's that argument of like, is it better to not have something like this for all its potential flaws and inaccuracies, or is it better to have it, you know, at the very least to have some kind of level of truth or exposure? But yeah, because if they were doing radio shows in the 60s or 70s about this, it kind of makes me feel, oh, like that's kind of a positive thing to an extent of like, at least they were talking about that you know, these events.
So there was one film that was made, and I don't know how specific it gets into these events, but it's mentioned in the book. It's called The FBI Story, and it has Jimmy Stewart in it. And I think I could be wrong about this, but I think that Jimmy Stewart plays sort of like a facsimile of Tom White, of Jesse Plemons' character. And it's about that kind of FBI. I don't know how much it gets into the Osage though specifically, but it's about the kind of beginning of the FBI. I think J. Edgar Hoover had like a direct role in it. Speaking of J. Edgar Hoover too, I keep thinking about, this is a total tangent, but how Leo played J. Edgar in the movie I never saw. So it would be amazing if they included that stuff from the book and had Leo play J. Edgar and this other guy, and you could connect them all under one universe.
In the Leo universe?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
where like he's playing. Like, imagine if we cut to like the FBI headquarters and there's Leo, but as a different guy. I don't know. It would have ruined the movie, but I think about it sometimes.
And then you
Gaston
can
comes
marathon
in and
J. Edgar
throws a
Hoover,
party. Yeah.
FBI,
Yes.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
So
That
there
could be
was a film that tried, I think, to kind of tell the story, but I don't think it was like, I don't think it actually really did. Like, I feel like there's elements of like some of what's in the story, but it's not really kind of getting to the heart
its
of what this
purpose
film
wasn't
is.
to,
Exactly. So there was sort of a failure on even like the media's part, not just journalistic media, but entertainment media, to even really like let people know like this is what happened. Like and fairly, as you guys said before, like pretty recently in the grand scheme of history. So it is, yeah, I think it's fascinating for a movie to kind of grapple with that head on and sort of wrestle with like its own place in this. And so, yeah, I don't know if I've seen anything quite like that before.
Well, you've turned my opinion on that sequence that I was not a fan of, and now maybe it's the best part of the movie.
And Jack White is there from the White Stripes. He's one of the people. Yeah, he's one of the voice actors in that scene.
Who is this?
And so is Larry Fessenden, who's
Jack
a director,
White from
really
the
good
White
horror
Stripes?
director. There's a lot of musicians in this movie, which is really interesting. Like cast just sort of throughout it. And I
as
kind of
like,
wonder what was
like
going on there.
actors.
Yeah, as actors, there's musicians just playing roles in the film. And I kind of wonder like what led Scorsese.
Are any of them indigenous or?
There may be. The ones I'm
Okay.
aware of are not, but there
Okay.
might be.
I was gonna
Jack
say,
White.
Jack White, I don't think is. I mean, for all we know,
Because his name is White. You know.
Well,
Could be related to the
Well,
FBI.
I'm
this
just
movie
joking.
shows us
That's
that,
why
yeah,
he's in it.
indigenous families were married,
Yeah.
into type thing. But
Can we just like talk quickly about the score? by
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
let's do
Like,
it.
so Robbie Robertson, oh, rest in power. Like he is an amazing musician. But
is he
I don't-
dead?
Yeah, he died recently. He died like
This
August.
past year. Yeah, in the
This is,
summer.
like his last project. Yeah. But I don't think he's ever done a movie score from my understanding.
I think he's
Who
done some
is-
other Scorsese movies.
Who is he? Who was he?
Robbie Robertson.
Poser?
I think he did
band.
the Irishman score.
Did
And I
he?
think and he may have even done, this doesn't sound right, but he might have done Wolf of Wall Street and maybe Silence, like some of the
surprised.
recent ones.
Yeah.
But I don't know
surprised
that
he
he's
didn't
worked
get,
with
like-
other filmmakers.
I'm
Well,
surprised they didn't get indigenous
Yeah.
musicians to do the music.
Pardon?
It
He is
sounded like
indigenous.
I would have believed that it was if they had said that it was like.
Well,
I
Oh,
don't know,
Robbie,
he's
I'm
from the
surprised they didn't.
band. He's Canadian.
yeah, he's a Canadian
Yes.
indigenous man.
Born
I
in
think he-
Toronto.
Huh.
Tirana.
Yeah. I don't know if I haven't seen the Irishman, men. I've seen Wolf
Mean.
of Wall Street, but like it's been a while.
Mhm.
But I loved the score of this movie. Like
Yeah, it was noticeably good.
it was so like it gave each scene an essence with like that low guitar.
That was him on
tremble,
guitar.
Was it really?
Like all,
Yep.
all of that. Like,
It is
I-
up for
like,
best
heightened.
score.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll win.
Oh, if he'll appear. Oh, if he'll win. I don't know if he'll be at the
I don't think they'll show
ceremony.
up this year, but yeah.
Oh, but John Williams is up for his last movie, so we'll see.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
I,
how many times can you win for? I'm sorry, I love it's Indiana Jones theme song is one of my favorite John Williams theme songs. But how many times can you win an award for redoing the same song over and over
We will
again?
find
Has
out
he-
this year.
Has he won multiple awards for his Indiana
the
Jones
I don't-
themes?
I don't know about Indiana Jones specifically, but like
I know he's
done
won.
it
I know.
This is
Yeah.
5 times now. I'm like, should you get an award for that? I don't know.
doesn't he have like 10 Oscars?
He has an obscene amount of Oscars.
I mean, I feel like it's just an extension of should Robert De Niro get a nomination for doing a very similar type of performance. Like
Yeah.
we've seen it before,
Yeah.
we've heard it before.
Hey,
They give it
depends
the
on what else
award
is
for-
out. What's that? Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
about what's out in the year. I don't care if you get 10 performances for the same thing or 10 awards for the same 10 performances in a row, as long as you're the best one of the year.
Yeah, well
There you
yeah,
go.
okay. I mean, like the Oppenheimer score, I really enjoyed as well. but I don't know, like Killers of the Flower Moon, I just think of like if there was no score, because there have been choices in other movies where like there is no score for a scene and it's a reason. And I'm like, I could not imagine a conversation between like Lily and Leo without that because like it is so insidious and like it represents the rottingness of the relationship. Like, I don't know. It was just so good.
It's a great score.
I agree.
Yeah. Lots of good scores this year. Like some of them you couldn't even fit into the nomination, but yeah, this was a good year for film scores. I feel like the Poor Things score is really interesting.
The Poor Things.
Have you guys
score,
talked about Boy and the Heron yet? Have you?
No, that's in
that?
like 2 weeks.
It's coming up.
Yeah,
that's a really beautiful score, that movie, and a guy that works with Miyazaki all the time. So yeah, there's like and Oppenheimer, all the ones you talked about. But yeah, Lisa, I totally agree that this movie's score serves it very, very well. Yeah,
I feel I missed out. I didn't notice the score at all. I know.
Well,
I don't want to rewatch it.
To clarify, what I'm not in the camp of like it didn't stand out to me personally, but what is retrospectively real in my mind is like what Lisa was saying specifically, like the scenes with the the two lovers, and like they're just I noticed. I remember there being a moment of noticing a score for each scene, like that there was a score going on. Like there it does seem true that there aren't really any scenes that there's not something going on. And the scene and the movie and movies, like you said, movies do it. This movie could have done it. This movie could have picked its like moments of like dead silence, and it could have been effective. But the fact, like the score was effective because like again, I was totally engaged throughout the entire movie. Like it's kind of a testament to the fact that the score like did a good job. So
yeah, just a really strong understanding that like what I found was that the score was like another character in the movie, and it was like the tone of this world, just like how we were talking about the cinematography. Like the score felt like it was enhancing where we were and who these people were. Oh, so good.
My favorite score is still All Quiet on the Western Front.
You know, guys, what you guys should do is just like listen to the scores like on like Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. Just like listen to them. Just throw them on if you're working or something. If you're able to do that, like it's great to listen to a movie score like separate from the image. And see kind of how it affects you. I think it's
video game scores
John
too.
Williams.
Yes, video game
John
scores
Williams
too,
is what I work out to on the elliptical when I'm doing anything cardio or like fast paced. It's John Williams because I read and I can't read and listen to things with lyrics. So like I put that on and turn on John Williams and go. I can go fast. I don't know why.
That's awesome.
Nice.
I love that.
Scores work for that.
All right, let's move into the game. Here we go.
Game
we're almost at 2 hours.
Pew pew.
Yeah,
it's flown by though, much like kind of like flower movie.
Yeah, it's a lot of movie to cover.
It didn't fly by, but it was good.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't bored, but I also wasn't shocked at the time passing.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh well, admittedly though, I did like I feel like towards the end of the movie, I checked in and I was like, I feel like about 2 hours have passed, but closer to 3.5.
So how tonight's game is going to work? It's a game that we've played before in some capacity, but
it's like every game.
I know. I've started recycling the ones that are.
I miss Vince. Where's Vince? I miss him.
Back.
Come back, Vince.
It's only been like 20 seconds.
There he is.
There he is. So this is the game that we played for The Lion in Winter, except it's Martin Scorsese themed this time. So I'm
lines from the movie.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a quote from a famous not famous, but I'm going to throw a quote from a Martin Scorsese movie up on the screen with one word removed. You get 1 point if you correctly fill in the blank. You get a second point if you tell me what Martin Scorsese movie that quote is from.
Oh God.
So character
and you get
movie?
A third point
Not
if you say character or actor?
No, because I don't have that.
Wait, so hold on. We guess the movie. What's the first thing we should?
There's
it's a blank and movie. Okay.
So fill in the blank.
Write it down.
Yeah, write it down.
Okay.
You're gonna fill in the blank, and also tell me the title of the movie that this quote is from.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And if all of you get the blank wrong, I'll give a point to whoever's answer was the funniest.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So that's
Slash
how
most
we're rolling.
entertaining.
Or most
That's a
entertaining,
gamble.
exactly.
Okay.
So here we go. The first quote is, "I don't go down for blank." Please fill in the blank. Tell me the movie and fill in the blank. Now, sometimes blank is just one word. Sometimes it's a phrase. So don't always assume blank is just one word.
Oh,
I don't go down for blank.
I don't know. I'm gonna suck at this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably make a fool of myself because I talk about all these movies, but I don't know.
I mean, unless these lines are like pretty iconic, it's kind of
They are.
Okay,
They're what came up
okay.
when I Googled most
This
iconic
one is,
line
I
from.
just can't
Here's the
remember.
movie.
Oh, actually, hold on. I'm changing my answer. I don't trust myself here.
All right.
Okay, let's start with Ben. And I encourage you to perform the line.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what the answer is. So my guess is I don't go down for anybody, and it's from Raging Bull. Anna's gonna kill me.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Lisa?
Because he's a boxer.
I don't go down for nothing. Wolf of
Okay.
Wall Street.
See, that's a good
Okay.
guess.
That is
too.
a good guess.
Oh.
Jeanette?
Uh-oh.
I said nothing, but I had no clue what movie this is.
Okay. Alex?
Free Wolf of Wall Street.
I don't go
Ooh.
down for free. Oh.
Sucking Digimon.
Digimon.
Not getting age gated tonight.
Okay. Vince?
I don't think this is right, but I don't go down for nobody from The Departed. That was
It is I
Scorsese,
don't
right?
go down for nobody.
Is it part of Scorsese?
Vince,
I
you
think-
got it. But it's
Yeah.
not
Yes,
that,
got
it's
it.
Raging Bull. It's Raging Bull.
Ah, I know.
yeah,
Oh,
one
Oh.
So
Yeah.
I got
So
the
do you
word
get a
wrong.
point for the movie if
I
you
don't think
get
The Departed
the
is Scorsese.
blank wrong?
I thought it was.
It
Oh,
may
yeah.
be. I just don't think it
Yeah,
is.
you'll get the point for if they're independent.
Either
You
one,
don't need to get one
independent.
The
together.
Departed doesn't feel like a
Okay.
Scorsese movie.
Yeah, so Ben and Vince both have 1 point. Well done. Well
And De
done.
Niro is in it.
Next.
He would say nobody.
Father,
It
why
makes
have
sense.
you blank me? Father, why have you blank
This one
me?
I know. This one I know because it's my fave.
Okay,
The
we're gonna end,
Departed
we're
is
gonna end
done
with
by
Ben. We're gonna end
Scorsese.
with Ben.
Okay.
I'm looking at it now.
Okay.
No, that's cheating.
What? It's from
No,
The
no.
Departed?
No, but
No, I was looking at The
You're looking
Departed.
up like The
I
Departed.
yeah,
was challenged.
just don't look up quotes from The Departed because maybe that'll happen eventually. Let's start with Jeanette. Father, why have you
I'm
blanked
still
me?
thinking. I'm still thinking.
I believe in you.
I need to look up a list of Scorsese
No,
movies.
that's part of the game.
I don't know any
Matt,
Scorsese
you're making me
movies.
doubt myself now. You're making
No,
me
don't
doubt
doubt.
myself. I
Don't
was
be
so
a
sure,
doubting
and now I
Thomas.
don't know.
That was
Oh, you know who I always conflate Scorsese with? Guillermo.
Coppola? Oh, what?
No.
Del Toro?
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
How?
How?
Just the type of movies, the types of films.
The wildly romanticized / horrific fantasy movies that Martin Scorsese is known for?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Hasn't Guillermo done one non
Nightmare Alley?
fantastical film? I don't know.
Oh
It's
God!
just-
Don't talk about Nightmare Alley. It
No,
makes me so sad.
I said nothing. No, that movie didn't happen. I didn't watch it because I watched the original and got a sense of how he could make it more violent. So,
Oh, what about
Yeah.
that movie where the chick banged the fish man?
Grinding Nemo. Yeah,
I haven't seen that
I
one.
love that
it's a
movie.
good one. I love Grinding Nemo.
Grinding.
A lot of
I
people
have that
did.
on DVD.
Yeah, it won Best Picture. It was shot
I
in
heard.
Toronto. Oh, one of my favorite observations, maybe a fan theory, is that as well as Hairspray were both shot in Toronto and both take place in Baltimore in the same year. So conceivably, Shape of Water is happening at the same time as Hairspray.
And what?
Oh, that's
and what a great
crossover.
John Waters film, Shape of Water, could have been.
The Shape of John Waters.
I'd watch it.
Perfect.
Yeah, Jeanette, what do you think?
Okay, I just have Forsaken. I couldn't think of any film where this would come from.
Okay, Alex.
Same thing. Gangs of New York.
Oh,
Okay. Vince.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I put
God, I forgot
Forsaken
about Gangs of-
from one of my favorite Scorsese films, The Passion of the Christ.
Really?
Okay.
That's a Scorsese film?
that's
No,
Mel
that-
Gibson,
Isn't that
isn't
Mel
it?
Gibson? Yeah.
Wait,
Oh, it's just to be funny. Okay.
Lisa.
Forsaken, Goodfellas.
Okay. Ben.
Okay, I put Forsaken, and this is my favorite Scorsese movie from The Last Temptation of Christ.
That's correct, Ben.
I love. Oh, that
know
movie's
what
so
that
good.
was.
Vince, you were
Vince
so
deserves
close.
a part,
was pretty
kind of
close.
a point for that. For the,
But it
for
could have
the-
been Silence too,
isn't it?
because Scorsese's such a scared Catholic, and he makes all these movies about that. And I was like, it could be Silence. So I was like, I don't know, but I love you guys. If you haven't seen Last Temptation of Christ, it's so good. Willem Dafoe
Oh,
plays
yeah.
Jesus, and there's a bunch of New York theater
Oh,
actors.
now
being
I
like,
have
Harvey
to
"Look at
Keitel is
Jesus."
Judas. Yes.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait,
Harvey
is it-
Keitel is Judas.
Is it hot?
Oh,
Is
wow.
it young, hot Willem Dafoe?
Yes, it's 80s Willem
yeah.
Dafoe, and he's so
Sexy
good. And the
Jesus
movie has like one
Willem
of the best
Dafoe?
endings
Sexy
I've ever
Jesus
oh my
Willem
seen.
Dafoe.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop it.
It's so good.
I saw that
Watch it.
movie in Edmonton as a double feature with Jesus Christ Superstar on Easter weekend.
That's wild.
It was such
That's
a
hilarious.
Jesus-y weekend for me. Yeah.
Such a controversial
Oh my
Jesus-y
God.
weekend.
I know,
too.
very
That movie
controversial
made people
Jesus-y.
mad, but it's really good.
Which
Check-
one?
check
Both
it
of them.
out.
Both of them.
I
Yeah.
need to see that. Oh my god.
Does
Yeah.
Bernadette Peters play Mary Magdalene?
I wish. Actually, no. It's Barbara Hershey from Black
It is
wow.
Swan.
Barbara Hershey.
Yeah.
It is
Wow.
Barbara Hershey. And Irving Kershner, who directed, was it Empire Strikes Back? I think he's in there too. It's got a crazy cast. Harry Dean Stanton. Watch it, so good.
Last
So
Temptation of
good.
Christ. It is now been endorsed. And Matt endorsed. Next. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a blank.
a fish.
I truly don't know, guys.
I always wanted to be on Matt Yipchuk's podcast.
Thank you, Ben. I always wanted to be a fish.
If I don't write anything, that's my.
Hey, Scorsese probably says that when he voiced that blowfish in Shark Tale. Because remember in the movie Shark Tale,
Is that thing that happened?
he's a porcupine fish in that movie, and he's got the
Yeah.
eyebrows.
No,
and
he's
he
not the
probably
porcupine
says, "I want to
fish.
be a fish."
Willem Dafoe? Is that who you're talking
Martin
about?
Scorsese and maybe Willem Dafoe. I think
Willem
he's,
Willem
Dafoe's
Dafoe's
in
Finding
Nemo.
Nemo.
he's
Yeah.
in Nemo.
He's
He's
Gil.
one
But
of
the
the-
movie
but he's
Shark
not the-
Tale that
yeah.
DreamWorks made to try to
Shark
compete with that
Tale.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Scorsese's
do
in
remember
Shark Tale.
Yeah,
Oh
they
my
saw the
God.
fishes look like the voice actors. Yeah, like the.
I wish I
Angelina
could like put a
Jolie one.
picture of him up on my webcam, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know. Oh, I can use my phone. That's what
Use your
I'm gonna do.
phone.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with Alex for this one. Alex, please fill in the blank.
Fish from Big Fish.
Okay. Good answer.
The best
good answer.
Scorsese film,
Yeah.
Big Fish.
God.
Vince.
I put
That is
This is the director of Killers of the Flower Moon.
I don't think I've seen this.
But
There he
as a
is. This
fish.
Check him out. That's him.
with the eyebrows
Oh
and
my
everything.
god.
I always wanted to be a gangster from Goodfellas.
All right. Good guess. Good guess. Oh my gosh, there's more. Jeanette, what did you say?
Gangster, Goodfellas.
Okay,
Damn
Lisa.
Rich Man Aviator.
Okay. Ooh, nice. Ben.
Oh, that was a good.
Scorsese.
I always wanted to be in Shark Tale from Shark Tale. I put Gangster Goodfellas.
It was gangster. Good.
Oh,
yes.
That's- okay. Next.
R.I.P. Ray Liotta.
Somebody steals from me. I blank off his blank.
Matt.
What?
Oh my god.
Oh, I didn't realize what it sounded like just now.
Yes.
Oh well, here we are.
Hmm.
Somebody steals from me. I blank off his blank. Once again, I'm realizing I didn't write a bonus question, so I'm coming up with it right now.
Sorry, that was just me not knowing my movie trivia.
Why do I feel I want to attribute this to something that I can't possibly attribute it to?
Let's start it with Jeanette.
Do it. It might be funny.
No, I'm gonna go with my second guess. I wanted to attribute this to Goodfellas, but and I wanted to say something else because it would have been more fun. But the quote is cut off his hand, and I said Gangs of New York because I thought it was Goodfellas, but that's the only other like one that makes sense.
Okay, Alex.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Shoot prick from The Departed.
Okay,
I shoot off his prick.
that's a good one. That's good. Yeah,
I was gonna
That's
say
a good
cut
Vince,
off his
too.
balls.
I don't know. I put blow off his head from Taxi Driver.
Oh, nice. Lisa,
I also said blow off his head, but from the Irishman. Men.
imagine if that quote was
Men.
recycled.
Yeah,
Maybe it was. Ben,
I put take off his head from Gangs of New York, but I'm really not sure. Doesn't
All right.
sound right to me.
well, the right answers have been said. It's cut off his hands from Gangs of New York.
Ooh,
I remembered it
Matt,
being
well
said,
done.
but I couldn't remember where I heard it being said.
Was it Bill the Butcher? Does he say that, Matt?
I don't
even
know.
We don't know.
man. I think it's got to
'Cause he's
be
a butcher.
Daniel Day-Lewis's character. I feel
Yes.
like it was, yeah.
Is that the movie where he drinks up the milkshake? Or is
No.
That's There Will Be Blood.
that There Will Be
Yes.
Blood? Okay.
Shrimp
offended.
Easy
Killer.
to get those two characters confused, though, honestly.
They got
Fair
big
point.
mustaches. I get it.
Yeah, big mustaches,
And
accents.
they're both very violent and angry people.
Mhm.
right.
One of them has my boy. Anyway.
This
I'm
is
the
my
guy
son.
who does his job. You must be blank.
Ah,
I'm the guy who does his job. You must be blank.
Oh my god.
Who hasn't started? Lisa, we'll start with you.
Oh no,
Ah,
sorry, no, I
Lisa.
haven't written anything. Oh
We'll,
no.
we'll wait. We'll wait.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, fine. I'm gonna say you must be an apple pie for Shutter Island. Oh no.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Apple pie. Nice. Vince?
I put you must be some guy from Connecticut from Taxi Driver.
Okay. Alex?
I don't know, but you must be dead from Killers of the Flower Moon.
Who said that in Killers of the Flower Moon?
I don't know, but I feel like I've heard this quote recently, which is why I'm guessing it's Killers from the Flower Moon.
Okay.
It was the guy with the cowboy hat said it.
Mint green.
Yes. Jeanette?
It
I
was
said
Martin
dead
Scorsese at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I said dead as well, and I guess both guesses departed.
Okay. Ben?
I'm pretty sure it's okay. Anna was like, "You better get this," and I'm so bad with quotes. I don't remember exactly what movie it's from, but my guess was "You must be the other guy," and I think it's from Taxi Driver. But I'm
I thought you
not
were gonna say the other
100%
guys.
sure.
The correct answers were said. It was You Must Be the Other Guy
It's not
from The
right movie.
Departed.
The Departed.
that's
Oh, okay.
I have to apologize to Anna now. I'm sorry.
Next. This might be an adventure, and I've never had one before. Outside of blank, at least.
Oh. Outside of the ocean. From
Outside.
Shark Tank.
I was about to say something, and I realized it might be too big of a hint.
Oh, of course it's The Departed. I
Yes,
remember
of course
it
it's The
now.
Departed, Ben. The other one,
What's-
not this one.
What's wrong with me?
But yeah, when this movie, I remember discussing this movie with one of you when it came out.
Really? Okay.
No.
I don't know.
Oh my god, I don't even know.
Okay. I'm the guy who does his job. Was it Mark Wahlberg? I think Mark Wahlberg.
That sounds like something Wahlberg would say.
You must be the other guy.
Oh.
Microprocessors. They talk about microprocessors through that whole movie.
Oh wait.
Oh.
I don't remember the name of this movie, but the picture of it's in my head.
You must be the other.
Describe
I don't
it.
know what
Let's
the
start with
line
Jeanette. Let's
is
start
at
with
all. Okay, I didn't write it down because I literally just thought of it. I think. Oh my god, what's the name of that freaking movie? He did an animated movie, and this is his animated movie. I don't know what the line is.
Oh.
It starts with a hood. It starts with.
I know exactly what it is.
Hugo.
Yeah.
Hugo.
Hugo
don't know the
what?
line at all outside of
Chavez.
outside of my house, I guess. But
Okay.
like, I know that this sounds like it's from a kid's movie.
Okay, Alex.
Now from Pan's Labyrinth.
I love the
That's Guillermo del Toro. Okay, Vince.
I've never had one before outside of Jerusalem from The Last Temptation of Christ.
Okay. Vince gets to start. You get to start. Okay.
What's so funny? It's
I love when Jesus said that.
Wait a minute. He's not even from Jerusalem, right? That's not like. But yeah.
Wow, hey.
Well, he never said that Jesus said it.
True.
It was Simon said it.
Simon says
Being brought to the cross. And this might be an adventure.
Oh god.
I've never had one before. Outside of Jerusalem. Oh, I love this show. I love you guys.
Vince especially.
yes. Lisa, what are you?
Not as funny as Vince's, but I said Head from the movie Hugo.
Okay.
Outside of Head, at least.
That's,
What does that mean?
My
What?
head.
Oh,
my
The
mind.
greatest adventure of them all.
Quite the adventure.
Oh God, no,
Head
not like
adventure.
that, Alex.
My head.
No.
My head.
Oh.
There you go.
okay.
Okay. Ben.
Oh.
So my guess, because it does, I think Jeanette's right. It sounds like a family film, and his only
Yeah.
family film is Hugo. So I put Hugo, and I put Paris because I think that movie might be set in Paris.
Yeah,
But I don't remember because I haven't
Little
Never saw
Paris.
it.
I haven't seen
Don't
it
know anything
in
about
12 years.
It is
It's good.
Hugo, and it's books. Outside of
books.
books.
Ah.
Yeah.
Little Chloe,
Yeah,
whatever her name is.
That makes
Is
sense.
Hugo a Matilda knockoff?
No.
No, it's
Sounded like
it's kind
it.
of a.
It's about the magic of movies.
It's about the magic of movies, but
Yes.
for
Okay.
kids.
And Ben, you're the one who I discussed this movie with when it came out.
Dude, I don't remember.
It was
this at
over
all,
our
man.
holiday dinner.
So Matt and I go to Fran's every year,
Yeah,
and
for
we get a
our
holiday
Christmas
dinner, and we
Yeah.
talk about movies and stuff. And yeah, that's. I love that you remember that. I should.
Yeah.
So
Did I like it?
Hugo? Is Hugo
remember.
like Spielberg's or Scorsese's version of the Fablemans?
Maybe emotionally, but not literally.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not autobiographical, but it's about like a little boy learning about like George Méliès and the trip to the moon and like learning about cinema for the first time. So
Well,
and then
that's
he's trying to
being
capture
taken
the
by the
wonder of
magic of
cinema for the
cinema.
kids.
So I remember when we had our holiday dinner, Ben, you had seen it and I had not yet seen it, but I bought the book that the movie was based on. Yeah, and so I knew that George Méliès or how do we say his George's name?
I just said Méliès, but
Okay,
I don't know. I
Méliès.
don't know how to
I knew that he was a character, but you were being very respectful and trying to keep that a surprise for me. You were like, "There's a very
Mhm.
important historical figure that makes a surprise appearance and turns out to be quite important." I was like, "It's George Méliès." And you were like, "Yes," and then I saw it, and there we are.
Oh,
Okay,
nice.
two more.
I love that.
I do too. I love our holiday dinners. They're great.
Me too. They're the best.
They are. Next, men can't be friends with women, Howard. They must
Oh.
possess them or blank.
Oh, I know what movie this is from.
Last Temptation of Christ.
That's a funny answer for anything.
I know. Imagine Barbara Hershey just like that's her pet name for Jesus is Howard. That's Mary Magdalene.
Can I go first?
Yeah.
I feel like I have it half right for sure.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. They must possess them or dispose of them. I just said dispose, but
Mhm.
from Aviator,
Okay.
because that's the only film that Scorsese has a character named Howard, which is Howard from Aviator.
Oh.
Do we know this for a fact? Maybe there's a
I think
Howard in the Last Temptation of Christ.
Oh.
Or in Goodfellas. It's a big
Or in
Italian
Goodfellas.
name, apparently.
Vince?
That was way off. I I thought it's Be Possessed, but I guess from Howard the Duck. So which
Howard the
I
Duck
don't know,
starring Leah Thompson and Chip Zien,
one of the great box office bombs of our time.
but it predated
Oh my god.
the Marvel craze. It knew
It's the one that started them all.
it is. Okay. Alex.
They must possess them or die.
Okay.
From The Labyrinth.
Okay. Okay.
That's a great movie.
Yeah. Jeanette.
Or Be Born by Them, which I know is not the quote, but I thought that was appropriate. And The Aviator. I do know it's The Aviator.
All right. And Ben?
The Aviator, because it's Howard, must possess them or fly them around in a plane. I don't know. Fly them around in a plane.
Well, none of you got the blank correct, so I do have the power to give a point to whoever's answer I found the most entertaining. Yes,
But
yes.
what about people who got the movie correct?
Oh, it was The Aviator. So you all got a point. If you said Aviator, you got a point for The Aviator. So yeah, I'll give a point to Lisa
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
because I found it entertaining.
What is the
Yeah.
quote?
Oh yeah, you're right. That's the other half of this game.
Yeah, what is
they must possess them or leave them be.
Oh, I almost said push
You
them
know who
aside,
says
which is
it?
not a
Is
big
it
question
Amelia
because-
Earhart?
Oh, I assumed it was
No, it's
Katharine Hepburn.
it's Katharine Hepburn.
It's Kate Blanchett. Oh,
Yeah.
Is Earhart like a character in the movie?
yeah. Jane Lynch plays Amelia Earhart.
Of course she does.
That's a good cast.
good
for
casting.
Amelia Earhart.
I
Yeah.
don't think I even
James-
remembered that.
It's just like it's a very tiny cameo.
I was gonna
That's
say
so
I've seen
nice.
that movie a bajillion
Yeah,
times.
she's not a big part in it.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, I gotta look out for that next time.
It's good.
Right. And the
I watch it
final
at least twice a year.
question of our regular round, and I've never seen it. Maybe I will.
Oh
one
my
day.
god!
I keep
We gotta
saying
do
that, I
Scorsese
know.
Month. We should do Scorsese
I
month.
know. Should well, maybe we should. Hugo,
Aviator,
Last Temptation of
Goodfellas.
Christ.
I don't know.
That-
Those
but
would be two
then
that I
that'll
would
push
choose.
Alien Month. I really want to do Alien Month. Not the franchise Alien movies, because I just want to talk about Alien movies. Anyway. Oh wait, no, never mind. Let's not talk about aliens ever again. Here we go.
Oh, like Mars Attacks.
And you know something else, Daddy? Mommy is just so sick and tired of wearing blank.
I don't know what this is.
What?
I gotta really think about this one. Hold on.
Oh, I know what it is. I think I know exactly what scene this is from.
It is a rather iconic scene.
I know exactly what. I know exactly. Yes.
It was a scene that made a career, some might say.
I know it. I know it.
I know the scene, but I don't remember what she's.
I know it. I got it.
Okay.
Why do I feel like I'm gonna kick myself when I find out?
You're gonna kick yourself, Jeanette. You were gonna kick yourself.
Let's start with Vince.
I guessed fur coats from Taxi Driver.
Oh,
Jodie
interesting.
Foster?
Why not?
Yeah, true.
Did he do?
Alex?
Pearls from Wolf of Wall Street
All right.
because of the pearl necklace.
Yeah.
Because when a man and a woman love each other, sometimes
Yes.
a pearl necklace appears.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Jeanette?
I'm gonna say makeup, and I don't even know if he directed this movie, but Casino.
Okay.
Corral.
Yeah.
Ben?
I thought. Forgive me. I could be way off. I think it's the scene from Wolf of Wall Street where there's like the camera in the kid's room, and she's like, does she say that she's sick and tired of wearing panties? Or am I making that up? I could be making that up. In which case, I'll be.
I
very
think you're right.
embarrassed.
No, I
I
think
don't
you're
But I
right.
think it's
Ben, I
Lisa?
don't
I am
think
gonna
you're
kick
wrong because I
myself.
also said panties.
okay. That's
That
my
was the
guess.
scene I was thinking.
All
of.
right.
It was panties and
Oh God! Thank God.
Yes.
Oh
It's
man.
the scene when they're in the kid's room, and then he's like,
Yeah.
has mommy forgiven daddy yet? She's like, mommy's not
Right.
going to forgive daddy for a long, long time. And from now on, mommy's only going to wear short skirts. And you know what else, Daddy? Mommy's getting sick and tired of wearing panties.
And you know something else, Daddy. It's right.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And I was thrilled to write this down and guess this because I told my mom to check this episode out once this is over. So hi, Mom.
Hi, Ben's
you made
mom.
it this far.
Okay, so let's do a tally of the scores.
Oh no.
Vince has 4.
This is my worst score to date.
Lisa has 6.
Yes, I do.
Oh, these are not going to be in order.
Jeanette has 8. Ben has 11.
Of course you do, Ben.
Departed one wrong.
Alex has
Alex?
2.
Oh.
Now, how many points would we all like to wager for the bonus question?
All of it.
Okay.
All in.
All of it.
I'm gonna wager 1 point.
1. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Alex?
I have the top score, right? By virtue of being, announced last. So I'm not going to wager anything. I'm just going to live high on the top.
Okay.
These guys win, great, but I'm.
You have to wager to play.
I don't think so. I think.
Yeah, you do. You have to wager.
No, I don't think you have to wager. I don't
Price is
think
Right
you
rules.
do.
Price is Right rules. Yeah.
That's okay. Well, I mean, okay. Sure, I'll wager
Jeopardy
1 or
rules.
2?
I'll wager 1.5.
Okay.
1.5.
Respectable.
Yeah.
3.
3. Okay.
We're in England.
And I will make this a 2-parter, so you could double or triple your score, or lose double or triple your wager off of your
Okay.
points.
So
So
I'm confused.
Wait, that's not. That's not.
I
not
said what I said, and here we are. Okay. Now, it will be a 2-part question. So if you get 1 part right, you take your wager and add it. If you get both parts right, double your wager gets added to your score. Yeah.
Okay.
If you get 1 part wrong, that your wager gets subtracted from your total. And if you get the other part right, you'll neutralize. And if you get both parts wrong, double your
You'll
wager
blow up
subtracted.
and internally combust.
That's what happens. So Martin has won exactly 1 Oscar for Best Director. Oh, I gave away part of the answer. It's going to be how many Oscars has he won for Best Director? Oh, there we go. It's 1.
Hey, we all got our wager.
So, what movie did he win for?
Okay.
So suddenly there's no doubling. Just give me one answer. What's the movie he won for?
Okay.
Okay. Let's start with Alex.
The Irishman.
Okay. Hold
The
on.
Irishman.
I have to update your score.
Did he actually though? That's
I always
that's like
wanted to be
just
Irish.
stupid
Vince.
enough for it to be true.
I guess Departed.
Okay. Hold on. I have to
That
update your
was my
score.
first guess.
All right. Jeanette.
I put Goodfellas.
Okay. Updating your score. Lisa.
Everybody's score is getting updated.
Taxi
So
driver.
Okay. Updating your score.
I love the variety of answers, though.
That should have
know.
won.
Mhm.
Ben.
The Departed.
All right.
I think that was my first.
That's a
guess.
giveaway right
So
there.
here we go.
Yeah.
Now we have had a radical shift in the scores here. Tied for last place are Lisa and Jeanette, who now have 0 points. Coming up in 3rd place, we have Alex with 0.5 of a point. Yes, you have 0.5.
Thrill. I love it.
Vince, you now have 7. And Ben, you're up to 12 because it was The Departed or The
The De-
Departed.
The Departed.
The Departed.
It sounds like the Depotted. Like it's a bunch of points.
Yeah,
Crazy,
it was,
he
like it
didn't
was
win an
potted and now
Oscar
it's
for-
longer potted.
Till 2006.
That's wild.
Isn't that wild? Took him a long time.
Well, he deserved it.
he deserved it. He was a
I've
good
not
boy.
seen it, but I believe
That's a
it.
good film.
It is.
And again,
Yeah.
I need to watch more Martin movies because evidently I love him and I didn't realize it. So
Yep.
here we are. So let's just do a quick go around now. And the closing question that I think I'm going to ask for all of these movies is, if you were an Oscar voter and you were voting for this for Best Picture, what would your rationale be? Or if you're very much against it winning,
Best picture for Killers of the Flower
for
Moon.
for Killers of the Flower Moon.
Okay.
So
Oh,
why do you think it should win? I'll rephrase
Well,
it that way.
I-
Or if you don't think it should win, tell us why that as well.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I'll go
okay. So
first.
let me.
Oh no, Jeanette, go.
Let me play like the question you asked originally. If you were already like decidedly giving it to it.
Yeah.
I think that the merit that this has is that it is a movie with a message that's not messagey, and that it is extremely well directed. And the screenplay is really like I think that all of the components that make a best picture are there. Like everything is there, and nothing is severely lacking. Nothing is amiss. So that would be my rationale for giving it to it.
Yeah, I agree. My rationale is generally the same. I think it's a well-made movie. I feel like it informed me about a piece of history that's important that I had no knowledge of. So I do think that there is merit to that. And within a historical happenings, they still found a compelling narrative that I found interesting from a dramatic standpoint. So yeah, that would be my rationale if I were to give it my vote. Vince.
If I were to vote for this film to win Best Picture, it would be because of it reminding me of that one episode of Star Trek.
Nice. I respect that. Alex.
Yeah, it's what Jeanette said. Like it's got all the elements. It touches on a piece of history, an event that is also to an extent especially relevant to the discussions happening today. So yeah, it's got the recipe to be a surefire hit.
All right. Yeah. Lisa.
I would not want this one to win, but I haven't seen all of the other ones. I've only seen like one other movie on the list.
Yeah, I'm with Lisa there too. I wouldn't actually vote for this without seeing the other movies.
But if I was like, this is it, I would rationalize it by all of the features of the movie come together so cohesively to tell this very important story about not only American history, but Indigenous history. From the cinematography to the score, to the performances, to the screenplay, to the directing. I think like it is a well-made film. And I could see some Academy members feeling that way.
Very good. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with everybody. I would say that if I were voting for this film for Best Picture, that it is a movie that is told with a lot of grace and sensitivity, but it's also uncompromising in terms of what it shows and how it shows it and where it puts you as a viewer. And I think that it's a very risky movie in a lot of ways, but I think it's just very, very well made and performed. And I think that it's created a lot of discussion around this point in history that we may not be having otherwise. So yeah.
Well said. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. What a great way to kick off the marathon, kick off the season. I hope the other films are as thought-provoking and discussion-provoking as this one.
I think so.
I hope
well, they're all definitely shorter.
Yeah, like
I'm thankful for that.
Yes. Vince and I were kicking ourselves on Sunday night, being like, "Why did we suggest this first?
Yeah.
The longest movie of all of them."
But now it's out of
Get
the
it
way.
out of the way. Yeah.
We should have kept Maestro on the list. That's what I was thinking.
Well, again, I'm still in favor of like adding it as a bonus.
I think we're gonna end up shoehorning that one in. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, it's that time. Tell all the nice people watching everything that you do, everything that you want them to know, where to follow you, all the stuff. Let's start with Vince.
Oh, hey, hello.
Hey.
Look, my name is Vince. You can find me at Vinny Ridge Media on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, where I run a show called Only Time Will Tell, where sometimes it's satirical, sometimes it's serious, but we analyze myths, legends, mysteries from the greater Toronto area. But I'm branching out. The next episode's about Vietnam, so stay tuned.
Oh, I'm excited. I will stay tuned. Thank you, Vince.
Anytime.
Jeanette.
Hello. So it's me. I'm Jeanette, and you can find me here, all the time. But you should check out Oscar season specifically. And you can find me on We Like Theme Parks podcast. We have new episodes every Thursday, so you can find those anywhere that you're picking up podcasts. And our main man Bondo is going to be getting back from Disney and Universal soon, so there's going to be lots to unpack with that. Check it out.
Excited. Thank you, Jeanette. All right, Lisa.
Hello, I'm Lisa. You can find me here next week and all the subsequent weeks after that on Teacup for One Movie Reviews. You can also follow me on Instagram at Lisa_A_Alex. I am a theater producer and officially a playwright. And if you're in Toronto, you might hear some whispers of a workshop of a play I'm writing.
When? Where?
Ooh.
Oh, I can't tell you yet.
Where do we hear the whispers?
Follow me on Instagram.
Okay. We shall. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Bye. All right.
I just you normally ask us about what we final thoughts of the film, and you didn't do that tonight. So I'm going to take this opportunity to give you some of my final thoughts on the movie. Specifically, I wanted to kind of mention a thing that I always find interesting in movies like this, specifically movies that take place in this period of time where there's like some basically like the post-industrial revolution where like technology is kind of rapidly developing, progressing. No, don't go, Jeanette. Jokes. But no, like the phenomenon of crime and how simultaneously easy it is to get away it was historically to get away with certain types of crime, but also not. Right. So like this movie does that by showing us how you can just like shoot somebody in the head, and it's not like there are video cameras, and it's not like there's like isolated places where maybe the sound isn't heard or whatever, but at the same time, through investigation, through eyewitness testimony, through character assessments, and the way people knew like what kind of person that individual was historically in the past weeks, through just the gradual manifestation of like a guilty conscience, right? And how true psychopaths are pretty rare in society. And so, even though crime is not as rare as psychopathy, so like the people who commit crimes, most of them aren't just evil people or psychopaths. They're normal people who, for whatever reason, commit these crimes and suffer guilty consciences and whatnot. So anyway, I always find that stuff very interesting, right? Because it's kind of like that. We have this bias, I think, to both kind of, you do something today, it gets recorded, it's this or that, and that wouldn't have happened in the past and whatnot. But yeah, so that's one thing that I wanted to give a shout out to. Otherwise, I think we would be. I think it bears stating that like this movie covers one event out of so many events, right? And of course that's true of like all things in history. But it's like it's as much as it's so interesting to learn about this specific event with the concerning these particular people, whatnot. It's also, I think, it bears mentioning that like there's a whole there's hundreds of years of history of indigenous people both in North America and outside North America, and the interactions between non-indigenous and indigenous, and the different ways that colonizers exploited and killed, etc. Right? So that's something that I think is just bears mentioning. But otherwise, it's a great movie. It's got lots of layers. I'm looking forward to watching it at least another time, if not many more. I'm looking forward to a Scorsese marathon. Maybe we'll revisit it then. What say you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm into it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Alex. Here we go. Ben, tell us all about
Hi,
it.
I'm saying good. It was great to see everybody. I wasn't even supposed to be on the episode. I kind of shoehorned my way in.
I'm so happy you shoehorned your way in, Ben. It's
Yeah,
always a
because I wanted to
pleasure.
talk about this. I love coming on your show, Matt. My name is Ben Gordon. You can find me having dinner with Matt every year at Fran's Diner around Christmas. You can find me listening to the various podcasts that you heard mentioned from the guests here. I am on Twitter at It's Ben Gordon and on Instagram at It's Ben Gordon if you like to follow me there. I have a YouTube channel as well, just called Ben Gordon. I don't know exactly how you find that because there's a basketball player named Ben Gordon. So you might search him on YouTube and find videos of him. But it's been a total pleasure. So thanks for having me, and I'll see you soon, I'm sure.
I'm excited. Are you here next week? I can't remember. Yes?
I'm here. I think I might be on the Anatomy of a Fall episode, whenever that is.
Sweet. Well,
That
I
might be
hope
next week.
I look forward to that, and you're invited every single week.
Oh,
So
you're just
let-
the best,
let us
Matt.
know. Let us know. All right.
Thank you so much. I love coming
Thank you,
on.
Ben. And we love you. Ta-ta. Hi. And this is my channel. I'm Matt. Thank you for watching. All 7 of you. There were 10 at one point, so I don't know what happened to 3 of you, but come back. Join us next week. I don't remember what we're talking about. I think it might be Anatomy of a Fall, or it might be not Poor Things, the other movie that starts with a P. Past Lives. One of those. Who knows? I'll find out. Join us then. Matt, 2 degrees. How do you end this?